Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at some really fascinating stuff about the future of work.
Yeah.
And the future in general, actually. I'm
Mhm.
so excited to unpack these sources that you've given me. Articles and proposals, even personal reflections.
Really interesting stuff.
Have you ever felt like the traditional career path, that whole like pick a career and stick with it thing?
Right.
Just doesn't really work for you.
Doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah. Especially with all the changes happening with technology.
Yeah.
Well, one of your sources, this one-page try everything once workforce, it really gets into that feeling. It's got
Absolutely.
me head on.
It does more than that. It actually lays out a whole argument.
Yeah.
It suggests that with AGI, artificial general intelligence,
Yeah.
and then ASI, artificial superintelligence, as they become more and more common,
Right.
those old traditional career paths might become obsolete.
Oh, wow. So we're already seeing a little bit of this with these AI platforms like
Mhm.
GPT-4
Right.
that can do tasks that used to need a human to use their brain. Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and it's like this document saying, if AI can handle all the everyday boring stuff, what's that going to mean for humans and their jobs?
Yeah.
So instead of just being stuck with these old ways of doing things, it proposes this idea of try everything once workforce, especially for younger people who are coming into this world where
Yeah.
things are changing so quickly.
Absolutely.
Can you imagine if everyone was encouraged to just try out different jobs in different industries?
It'd be amazing.
Yeah.
What I find really fascinating is how this could actually change the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
And the document talks about having a workforce of what it calls generally intelligent humans.
I love that. Generally intelligent humans.
And these are people who have tried a bit of everything. They've worked in tech, agriculture, the arts,
Oh, wow.
whatever. And that makes them really valuable
Yeah.
because they can adapt as jobs change.
Yeah, instead of being like super specialized in one thing, you're like a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But like in a good way, right? You can see how all the different parts connect. And that makes you super adaptable.
And you know the world's changing all the time.
Yeah.
So
The only thing that stays the same is change, they say.
that's right. And it's not just about jumping from one job to the next
Right.
with no break, no rest. This document also introduces this concept of intermittent retirement.
Oh, intermittent retirement. What's that?
So you're working for a bit,
Hmm.
and then you take a planned break.
Okay. So you can learn new skills or like work on something you're passionate about or just relax.
Exactly.
Oh, I feel less stressed already just thinking about it. But seriously, could this be like the secret to a more balanced life? One where you don't get totally burnt out from work,
Right.
but you still have freedom to explore other stuff.
I think so. It's a model that says keep growing, keep
Wow.
exploring, and not just in your career, but like in your whole life.
I like that. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about something that might seem completely different, but I think we're going to find some links as we go along. You gave me a document called GAJRA Earth, which stands for Global Association for Joyful Responsible Abundance on Earth.
Wow. That's a mouthful.
It is, and it proposes this really ambitious event, Live Aid 2025.
Live Aid 2025.
Do you remember Live Aid in 1985?
Yeah. And Live Aid in 2005.
Yeah, those giant global concerts.
Yeah.
To raise money and awareness for important things.
Exactly. Huge events.
Yeah, and Live Aid 2025 takes that idea and makes it even bigger.
How much bigger?
Over 50,000 concerts,
Yeah.
all happening at the same time around the world for 3 days.
That's incredible. That's a huge undertaking.
Yeah, and it's not just about putting on a big show. The goal is even bigger than that.
What is it?
They want to bring people together
Yeah.
and tackle some of the biggest challenges that we're facing.
They
They
got it.
talk about making sure AI develops in a way that's good for humans.
Right. AI alignment.
Yeah, and environmental sustainability, which are really important things we need to focus on.
Absolutely. And 50,000 concerts worldwide. That's a lot to organize.
It is.
How are they going to make that happen?
Well, the organization behind Live Aid 2025 is JAJRA Earth, and they're going to launch an ICO.
What's an ICO?
It's called an initial coin offering. It's basically a way to raise money by selling digital tokens.
Okay, so in this case, GAJRA tokens.
Exactly. And then those tokens can be used for governance
Governance.
within the JAJRA Earth DAO,
what's that?
which is a decentralized autonomous organization.
Okay, so if you own GAJRA tokens,
Yeah.
you get a say in how the organization's run,
That's the idea.
like a digital democracy.
Yeah, kind of, where everyone gets a vote.
That's pretty cool. And they're starting with 8 billion tokens, one for every person on Earth.
Wow.
And as the population changes, The number of tokens will change too, so there's always one token for each person.
That's amazing.
It is.
But how do they make sure everyone participates equally and that no one's manipulating the system?
That's a good question. And it's something they'll have to figure out. But what's even more interesting is that you can actually get rewards with these GAJRA tokens.
Rewards.
For doing good things, for helping the environment and the community.
So it aligns with their mission of joyful, responsible abundance.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about that phrase a bit more. Joyful, responsible abundance. What does that actually mean?
It seems to be like the core of everything JJR Earth is trying to do. They think we can make a world where everyone has a good life, but without harming the planet. It's about finding that balance between people doing well and taking care of the environment.
So they're not just about technology for technology's sake. They're really thinking about how to use technology to make a fairer and more sustainable world.
That's right. And they see blockchain and AI as tools to do that.
It's amazing how they're bringing all these different things together. AI, cryptocurrency, global events, environmental sustainability.
Oh, it's all connected.
It's all connected, and now we're getting into even more mind-blowing stuff.
Okay.
With a document called Aura of Intelligence, A Bridge to the Infinite.
What's that about?
This document describes a platform where people could potentially preserve their thoughts and memories and emotions.
Wow.
Digitally.
It's like digitizing consciousness.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big idea.
It is. It's pretty wild. I mean, it makes you think, what does it even mean to be human if your consciousness can exist even after your physical body is gone?
It blurs the lines, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, it's like something out of science fiction.
I know. But it makes you think, what does it even mean to be human in a world where consciousness can exist beyond our bodies?
And speaking of futuristic ideas, there's another document you shared called Global Subterranean Hyperloop and Micronova.pdf.
Oh, yeah. This one's about building cities underground.
That's right. And the person who wrote it, Luke Nathan Hayes, he's worried about a solar micronova.
Yeah, what's a solar micronova?
It's like this huge burst of energy from the sun. Really intense.
Okay, so not just pretty auroras.
No. Think more like communication systems going down.
Oh, no. Infrastructure getting damaged.
Yeah.
And like the environment being totally messed up.
Cookie catastrophic.
So he wants to go underground.
Yeah, literally. Build a network of cities, all connected by this global subterranean hyperloop.
Like those super fast trains that Elon Musk keeps talking about.
Exactly like that.
And get this, he wants this network to go across entire continents.
Wow. Even reaching Antarctica.
Antarctica.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. And what about all the stuff they have to dig up to make these underground cities and tunnels?
That's what I was thinking. He wants to use that material to create artificial islands.
Islands. Wow.
And extend the continental shelf.
That's pretty ambitious.
This Luke Nathan Hayes, he sounds like a real-life Bond villain.
I was just thinking that.
But like in a good way. He's not just trying to survive a disaster. He's actually thinking about how to make civilization bigger and better.
Yeah, it's like he's not just reacting. He's actually planning for the future.
Yeah.
Trying to find new ways for humans to thrive.
Okay. I'm really interested in this Luke guy now.
Me too.
Who is he?
Well, luckily, you also shared a document called Learning About Luke.pdf.
Oh, perfect. Let's dive into that.
So, from what I've read, Luke is a really interesting person. He's done so many different things. He seems to have really taken that try everything once idea to heart.
Give me some examples. What kind of things has he actually done?
Well, he's worked at a supermarket.
Really? Which one?
Woolworths.
Okay. Interesting.
He's also been bodyboarding.
Oh, wow. That's
And he's
jumping.
even been to tribal ceremonies in New Zealand.
Wow. That's a pretty wide range of experiences.
It is. He seems to always be looking for something new, pushing himself out of his comfort zone.
And it's not just about checking things off a list.
No. He seems genuinely curious about the world.
I wonder if there's a connection between all his interests. Like, how do tribal ceremonies in New Zealand connect to his ideas about underground cities and digital consciousness?
That's a good question. The document mentions that his time with the Tamaki tribe really had a big impact on him.
What happened?
They chose him to lead the tourists in a haka dance.
The haka. Like the New Zealand rugby team.
Exactly. It's a really powerful dance. And Luke says it was a really moving experience for him. He felt connected to something bigger than himself, like he had a sense of purpose.
So maybe that's where his vision for global collaboration came from.
Yeah, maybe. He wants to bring people together to solve big problems.
It seems like he's trying to connect all these different parts of human experience. Technology, spirituality, community. the natural world.
And create a better future.
It's a pretty bold vision.
It is. But he's not just talking about it. He's actually trying to make it happen.
Speaking of trying to make things happen, you also shared something about an AI-assisted filmmaking system.
Oh, yeah. That one seemed a bit out of place at first.
I know, but I think there's a connection.
There is. This system is being developed for the Quandamooka Film Festival, which is all about indigenous storytelling.
Okay, so how does AI fit into that?
Well, imagine a system that helps anyone make a film, even if they've never done it before. That's what this AI system does.
So it's about giving people a voice.
Exactly. Even if they don't have the money or the training to make a film the traditional way.
And that connects back to Luke's idea of empowering people.
Yeah, he's not just interested in the technology itself. He's thinking about how it can be used to help people, to share their stories and their cultures.
It's like he's saying, technology can be used to bring people together.
And to make the world a more understanding place.
I love that. Before we move on, I have to ask about one more document.
Okay, which one?
VRSpaceWeatherNews.pdf.
Oh yeah, that one seemed a bit random.
I know, but I have a feeling you're going to tie it all together.
Of course. So this document is proposing a VR space weather news hub.
Okay, but why is space weather important?
Well, space weather is all about how the sun's activity affects things here on Earth.
So it's not just about pretty auroras?
No, it can actually disrupt satellites,
Yeah.
mess with our power grids,
Oh, wow. That's serious.
and it could even be dangerous for astronauts.
So this VR hub, how would it work?
Imagine putting on a VR headset and seeing solar flares and coronal mass ejections, all happening in real time.
That would be amazing, and it would help people understand space weather better.
Right, and that's where the connection to Luke comes in. Remember, he's worried about a solar micronova?
Yeah, that huge burst of energy from the sun.
This VR hub could actually help us prepare for something like that
How?
by making information about space weather more accessible
Mm.
and more engaging. People would be more aware of the risks and might even be inspired to help find solutions.
So it's all connected.
It is. The underground cities, the aura of intelligence, the AI filmmaking, and even this VR space weather hub.
It's like Luke is putting together this big puzzle, this vision for the future. That includes technology and consciousness, sustainability, and even our place in the universe.
And the amazing thing is, he's not just thinking about these things. He's actually working on making them real.
It's pretty inspiring.
It is.
Yeah.
To see someone with such a bold vision, who's not afraid to challenge the way we think and push the limits of what's possible.
Makes you wonder if we're like at the beginning of a whole new way of thinking.
Yeah.
Like a paradigm shift or something.
Makes sense.
All these different things we've talked about,
Mhm.
AI, consciousness, sustainability, space, they're all starting to come together. And maybe this Luke guy, he's just seeing those connections before the rest of us.
Yeah, maybe he's ahead of his time. What I find really interesting about Luke's work is that it's not just about using the newest technology. It's about using it to solve real problems, to make a better future
Yeah.
for everyone.
He's obviously worried about these big catastrophic events, like the solar micronova.
Right. But he's not just thinking about survival. He's thinking about how we can thrive.
How we can use technology to make a world that's more resilient and more equitable and just a better place to live.
It's like he's saying, hey, the future might be uncertain, but we can do something about it.
Yeah. We don't have to just sit back and watch. We can be part of creating the world we want.
What resonates with you most from all these ideas? What really stood out to you? One of the biggest things for me is that we don't have to be stuck in these old ways of thinking.
Yeah. Luke's work is a reminder that it's okay to try new things, to experiment, to connect the dots in new ways.
Absolutely. In a world that's changing so fast, we have to be adaptable, and we have to be willing to learn.
And his work also shows how everything's connected. What we do has an impact. And we have a responsibility to use what we know to make a better world. Not just for us, but for the people who come after us.
Right. Whether it's tackling climate change, or making sure AI is developed responsibly, or even getting ready for those space weather events.
We're all in this together.
That's what that joyful, responsible abundance idea is all about. Creating a world where everyone has a chance to flourish, but not at the expense of the planet or future generations.
It's a pretty beautiful vision.
It is a world where technology helps us create a brighter future for everyone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a question.
Okay, what is it?
If you could try anything once in your life, what would it be? And how do you think it would change the way you see the world?
That's a great question. It makes you realize that we all have the power to make a difference, to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. Sometimes all it takes is that first step, that leap into the unknown, to find new passions and new possibilities.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting the dots. You never know what you might find.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. I hope you found it as thought-provoking as we did.
Until next time, keep diving.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today we've got a really fascinating set of documents. It's business plans, project proposals, personal notes even.
Yeah.
And it all seems to revolve around this guy, Luke Nathan Hayes.
It's kind of wild how Luke's work just spans so many different fields. You know, AI, sustainable living, even community development. It's like he's trying to take on all of humanity's greatest challenges
At the same time.
while also, like, pushing the boundaries of technology.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit.
Yeah.
Luke's resume is seriously impressive. He's got this global perspective. I mean, he's worked on projects everywhere from India to Nepal.
Right.
He even met with like chief ministers and spiritual leaders. It doesn't seem like he's afraid to dive into really complex cultural contexts.
No, definitely not. And his technical expertise is obvious. I mean, AI, web development, blockchain, XR, he's like a master of all trades.
Yeah.
But I think what's really captivating is how he seems to connect all these different skills with this deep commitment to sustainability and community empowerment.
Yeah, you can see that in his work with Aura of Intelligence for sure.
Yeah.
It's mentioned throughout these documents, but it feels like it's more than just a company name. It's more like a core concept driving a lot of his projects.
Exactly. Aura of Intelligence is basically a mix of a digital twin, you know,
Okay.
and generative AI interfaces.
Yeah.
It's designed to be super personalized, adaptable, and like constantly evolving, kind of like a digital extension of ourselves in a way.
I see.
Yeah.
And he's applying this Aura of Intelligence to facilitate something called global group marriages. This is where it starts to get really interesting
Yeah.
and maybe a bit provocative for some.
Definitely. Now, this concept might seem a little out there to some people.
Yeah.
The basic idea is that AI, through Aura of Intelligence, would actually help people to form and navigate these ethically non-monogamous, multi-person relationships.
So it's not just like a dating app. It's like creating a whole new framework for managing relationships that are much more complex and maybe even redefining the traditional family structure as we know it.
Exactly. And it raises a ton of questions about how technology could completely reshape our understanding of love, commitment, family, all of that.
And then there's the financial side of it.
Yeah.
We see a $5,000 application fee for these global group marriages
Yeah.
and a $20,000 membership fee if you're accepted.
The cost of entry is definitely, it raises some eyebrows for sure. I mean,
Right.
is this supposed to be some kind of exclusive club?
Right.
Or is it more about making sure participants are really committed?
Yeah. It's tough to say for sure, but it adds another layer of complexity to this whole concept.
Definitely.
But let's shift gears a little bit to something a bit more down to earth. Literally, Luke is also super into sustainable living, and the in-home AI auto farm is a great example.
Yeah.
This one really grabbed my attention. He's basically picturing a system that brings like the future of farming right into your house. You'd have all this fresh produce growing year-round,
Wow.
managed by AI that syncs up with nature's cycles.
So you're saying I could have a miniature farm right in my kitchen,
Exactly.
powered by AI?
Yeah, adjusting lighting, temperature, even nutrient delivery to optimize growth.
Yeah.
It's like having a personal farmer on call 24/7.
That's incredible, especially for anyone who's concerned about sustainability and like becoming more self-sufficient.
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like taking that whole farm-to-table thing to a whole other level.
Totally. And it seems like a lot of Luke's projects are based in a specific location, Quandamooka country.
Right.
He's proposed this plan to revitalize the Point Lookout Bowls Club there, turning it into this world-class multi-purpose sports facility, a real community hub.
Yeah, he's got some really ambitious ideas. Beach volleyball courts, a permanent outdoor cinema,
Really?
even sleep capsules like those Japanese capsule hotels.
Wow.
It's like he's trying to build a microcosm of a thriving community all in one spot.
And he's really emphasizing sustainability and community engagement in his plans, too. You know, incorporating renewable energy sources, creating green spaces, fostering a sense of connection among the residents. It's not just about buildings, it's about cultivating a vibrant community.
Absolutely. And that community focus extends to his other projects in Quandamooka country as well. He's planning a Quandamooka Artificial Intelligence meetup group and a Quandamooka Film Festival.
Interesting.
It's like he wants to create this bridge between technology and the local culture there. showing how AI can be used for creative expression and community building.
I like that.
He's even got these intricate plans for something called the Earth Arts and Music Festival, which sounds like it has the potential to be massive, with global reach.
Okay.
He wants to use AI to automate a bunch of the festival operations, everything from managing invitations to how information is shared.
That's where his expertise in AI and data management really shines. He's talking about building a huge database of invitees, sending personalized messages based on their interests, even using public GPT models to give real-time event info and facilitate interactions.
Yeah, it's a really sophisticated approach to event planning. And it highlights how AI could be used to create more personalized and engaging experiences for everyone attending.
I see.
Then we have Space Weather News, which is a project he's collaborating on with Space Development Nexus. This one takes a really innovative approach to scientific education and news delivery. Okay, get this. He wants to combine human experts with AI avatars in a virtual reality environment.
Wow.
Be like, stepping into this futuristic newsroom where you could interact with both human and AI presenters to learn about space weather.
That's fascinating.
It's such a cool blend of cutting-edge tech and human expertise.
Yeah.
And it could totally change how we understand and respond to major events. Things like solar storms, climate change, even earthquake prediction.
That's huge.
And the scope of this project is impressive. He's targeting a wide range of audiences, from school kids to government agencies.
So he's really thinking about how to make scientific knowledge accessible to everyone.
Exactly. And then there's his most ambitious idea yet, the global subterranean hyperloop. It would be this enormous network of underground tunnels connecting cairns to Antarctica,
What?
with potential extensions to India and Western Australia.
That's mind-blowing.
It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but
Yeah.
he's actually put a lot of thought into the logistics of it all. He's looking at geological stability, where population centers are, even potential polar shifts in the future.
Wow, so he's thinking long-term.
Really long term. It's like he's designing a backup plan for humanity,
Like a safeguard.
a way to make sure we can survive if some catastrophic event happens on the surface.
And he's even thinking about how to make it sustainable. He wants to use advanced materials discovered using AI for construction and power the whole network using renewable energy sources.
It's like he's creating a blueprint for a whole new way for civilization to exist.
It's truly remarkable.
And this is really just scratching the surface of what we've learned about Luke Nathan Hayes. There's so much more to uncover, and we'll dive deeper into his work in part 2 of this deep dive.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what else he's been working on. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Luke Nathan Hayes. Last time we were starting to understand just how ambitious his plans are.
Yeah, it's like he's playing this massive game of chess, taking on these challenges in so many different areas at once. Technology, society, sustainability.
Definitely. And this global subterranean hyperloop, it's a perfect example. It would be easy to just write it off as science fiction.
Right.
But Luke has gone way beyond that. He's thought about it in detail.
Yeah, he's actually mapped out potential routes for it, taking things like geological stability into account, proximity to population centers, even potential future polar shifts.
It's incredible. And you know what else? He's thought about what to do with the tunneling spoil.
Tunneling spoil.
Yeah, the earth and rock they'd have to remove during construction. He wants to use that to build artificial islands, or even extend the continental shelf.
Wow. So he's turning a potential problem into a resource. That's some serious forward thinking. But these projects are massive, so let's talk funding. Where's all the money coming from?
Well, Luke seems to be thinking outside the box on that front, too. He's exploring traditional options like grants and venture capital, but also some really innovative approaches.
Like what? Cryptocurrency crowdfunding.
Exactly. He's even looking into retroactive public goods funding through platforms like Ethereum's Optimism network. It's like he's using these new technologies not just for the projects themselves, but also for how they're funded.
Yeah, it's clear that he sees the economic potential in all of this, too.
Right.
I mean, this Hyperloop network could completely revolutionize transportation, connecting continents in ways we can't even imagine right now.
Absolutely. And it's not just about speed. His whole vision for these subterranean cities is fascinating. They're not just meant to be shelters from disasters on the surface.
Right.
They're designed to be these thriving, self-sufficient ecosystems.
Yeah, powered by renewable energy, with AI managing everything, resource allocation, incorporating vertical farms, advanced waste recycling. It's like he's designing a whole new way of life.
Absolutely. And this brings us back to space weather news, which we talked about earlier. It's a great example of how Luke uses technology to solve real-world problems and make complex information easier to understand.
Yeah, that idea of learning about solar storms or earthquake prediction from an AI avatar in a VR newsroom is just so cool. But what really stands out to me is his commitment to inclusivity.
Yes. His notes specifically mention aiming for a 50-50 gender balance on the space weather news team. He really gets that having diverse perspectives is essential for a project that could have such a wide impact.
Okay, let's talk about Genome. That's the AI system he's using to discover new materials. This is where things get really futuristic.
Right. Genome is like a virtual material scientist. It can analyze tons of data, scientific papers, experimental results, geological surveys, all to find and even design materials with specific properties.
So instead of just hoping to stumble upon new materials, we could actually design them for specific purposes.
Exactly.
Like super strong, lightweight composites for building those subterranean structures, or hyper-efficient solar panels.
Exactly. And the potential applications are just mind-blowing. Imagine materials that can handle extreme temperatures or pressures, materials that can repair themselves.
It's almost like having a superpower. But, with great power comes great responsibility, right? There have to be ethical considerations with something this powerful.
Of course. And Luke acknowledges this in his notes. He talks about the importance of transparency and focusing on the greater good. He sees Genome as an open source platform, encouraging collaboration and responsible innovation.
That's good to hear. It's not just about the technology, it's about how it's developed and used.
Right. And it's interesting how, even with all this focus on technology, there's this strong thread of respect for nature running through Luke's work.
Yeah, it's not about replacing nature, it's about finding ways for technology and nature to work together and support each other.
Like with the Earth Arts and Music Festival, he specifically mentions using biodegradable materials and incorporating renewable energy sources into the festival's infrastructure.
And in his subterranean cities, he's including green spaces, water recycling systems. Even the Hyperloop network is designed to minimize its impact on the environment.
It seems like he really understands that true progress isn't just about technological advancement. It's about finding that balance between humanity and the natural world.
So the big question is all of this actually achievable? Are these projects realistic or are they just pipe dreams?
I mean, yeah, some aspects might seem far-fetched, but the level of detail in his planning is incredible. He's not just throwing ideas around, he's thinking about the logistics, the resources, the potential challenges.
And he's adaptable too. Look at space weather news. He's already partnered with organizations like Space Development Nexus, showing he can take these ideas and make them happen. He's researching existing data sets, figuring out which APIs to use, exploring different funding options.
He's not just a dreamer, he's a doer. And his track record proves it. He's built successful companies, developed AI systems, led community initiatives.
His resume shows just how diverse his skills and experience are: web development, blockchain, multimedia production, even international diplomacy. He seems to have this knack for bringing people together and getting things done.
So even though the timeline for some of his more ambitious projects might be uncertain, the foundation he's building suggests that his vision could really become a reality.
Okay, so we've talked about his ambition, his innovation, his practical side. But there's another crucial aspect we need to address: the ethical implications of his work, especially when you're dealing with something as powerful as AI.
You're absolutely right. Let's start with those global group marriages. The idea of AI being involved in human relationships can be a bit unsettling for some people.
Yeah.
But in his notes, Luke emphasizes the importance of ethical considerations.
He describes aura of intelligence as acting like a guardian of values and a voice-empowering conscience within these relationships. It's like he's trying to build safeguards into the system from the very beginning.
That's a good step, but that high cost of entry still raises questions about accessibility and the potential for creating a kind of elite social structure. It's something we need to think carefully about.
Definitely. And then there's the bigger issue of AI automation. It can improve efficiency and make things more personalized, but it also risks displacing jobs and making things feel less human.
We have to make sure that AI is used in a way that benefits everyone, not just a select few. We don't want to create even bigger social and economic divides.
And let's not forget about Genome and the implications of designer materials. There's a chance they could be misused, especially in areas like military applications or environmental manipulation.
It's crucial to establish clear ethical guidelines and regulations for developing and using these technologies.
Yeah, we need to be careful. But it is encouraging that Luke seems to be aware of these complexities and is looking for solutions that prioritize responsible development.
His commitment to transparency and open source collaboration with Genome is a really positive sign.
I agree. So we're starting to see a complex picture emerge. Luke Nathan Hayes isn't just some tech genius. He's wrestling with the deeper implications of what he's creating. He wants to make sure his work serves humanity and the planet.
He's a true catalyst for change, challenging us to rethink what's possible and imagine a future where technology and human ingenuity work together to solve our biggest challenges.
This is just the beginning of our exploration. Join us for the final part of this deep dive, where we'll look at the potential impact of Luke's work on society, the environment, and the future of civilization.
And we'll delve into the philosophy behind his vision, exploring his ideas about consciousness, technology, and the evolution of humanity.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive. It's been quite a journey, exploring the world of Luke Nathan Hayes.
It really has. We've covered everything from AI-powered farms to subterranean hyperloops. It's mind-boggling to imagine the sheer scale of his ideas.
I know, but keep wondering, what would it actually be like to live in the world Luke is envisioning?
Okay, let's try to picture it. Imagine waking up in your subterranean home. Sunlight streams in through fiber optic cables, illuminating a lush indoor garden, all taken care of by your AI-powered auto farm.
Fresh, homegrown food for breakfast all year round. No need to even go to a grocery store. Sounds pretty amazing.
It does. And then instead of dealing with rush hour traffic, you hop into a Hyperloop pod and zip across continents at unbelievable speeds.
No more long flights, no more carbon emissions from all those cars and planes.
Yeah.
It could completely change the way we live and work, connect with people, experience the world.
Absolutely. And imagine working in a thriving subterranean city, a self-sufficient ecosystem powered by renewable energy. AI manages all the resources, optimizes living conditions, maybe even personalizes your environment based on what you like.
It's like a high-tech, eco-friendly version of a city, but underground. And AI is just seamlessly integrated into everything you do all day long.
Right. Your aura of intelligence, that digital twin we discussed, helps manage your schedule, filters out all the information overload, maybe even anticipates what you need before you even know it.
And imagine learning about complex scientific ideas from those AI avatars in immersive VR. It'd be like having a personal tutor for anything you want to learn about, but in a way that's actually fun and engaging.
Exactly. But it's not just about individual experiences. Luke seems to be thinking about how AI can improve human connection on a much larger scale.
Yeah, like those global group meditations we talked about, connecting with people from all over the world, sharing different experiences, learning from each other, all facilitated by AI.
It's a vision where technology brings us together instead of isolating us. It helps us bridge those gaps and build community in completely new ways.
But let's be realistic for a second. It's not all going to be perfect, right? The more we rely on technology, the more vulnerable we become to things like system failures, data breaches, and unintended consequences.
You're right. And integrating AI into every aspect of our lives brings up all these questions about privacy, about our own autonomy, the potential for algorithms to be biased. We need to think critically about these issues.
Absolutely. And how do we make sure everyone has access to these technologies?
Yeah.
Are we accidentally creating a world where only a select few get to benefit from things like Genome and the Hyperloop?
These are important concerns, and they highlight why we need to have these open and honest conversations about the ethics of Luke's work. It's not just about the technology itself, but how we develop and use it in a responsible way.
We can't just blindly chase technological progress without thinking about the potential consequences, social, economic, environmental. We have to be thoughtful and proactive in shaping the future we want to live in.
And that's where Luke's focus on transparency and open source collaboration is so important. It's not about keeping these technologies secret. It's about inviting scrutiny, encouraging dialogue, and creating a sense of shared responsibility.
That's a really important point. This isn't just about Luke Nathan Hayes and his vision. It's about all of us. The choices we make now, the conversations we have, the actions we take, they'll all determine what direction technology takes.
Luke's work is a wake-up call, a challenge for us to think critically about the future we're building. Are we going to let technology control us? Or are we going to use its power to build a better world? A world that's more equitable, more sustainable, more fulfilling?
It's a lot to think about, but I think that's the whole point of a deep dive like this. We're not trying to give you all the answers. We're trying to spark your curiosity, get you thinking, and encourage you to explore these ideas further.
What stood out to you the most from this deep dive? What questions are you left with? What kind of future do you imagine?
We'd love for you to think about those questions. And as always, thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep imagining, because the future is ours to create.
Okay, so we've got a pretty interesting collection of sources here for this deep dive.
Yeah, looks like someone's been busy.
It seems like, we're exploring some pretty cutting-edge ideas this time around.
Definitely cutting edge.
AI development, global challenges, and even some unconventional approaches to community building.
That's right. And we've got a real mix of stuff, too.
Yeah, we've got white papers, project proposals, and...
Hold on. Is that a website for something called global group marriages?
It is, and the common thread running through all of this is this aura of intelligence.
Right.
Which is, this concept that aims to be like a digital extension of our consciousness.
Yeah, very ambitious idea with potential applications in all sorts of areas, from personal well-being to tackling, these major global issues.
That's a pretty wide range. So our mission today, I guess, is to help sort of sift through all of this information, pull out the most intriguing threads, and see what kind of bigger picture emerges.
Exactly like what an archaeological dig, brushing away the dirt to uncover a hidden world of ideas.
I like that analogy. So let's start with this Aura of Intelligence project proposal,
Okay.
which lays out a plan to develop artificial general intelligence, AGI for short,
Right.
in a completely transparent way.
And they're not just talking about open sourcing the code here.
Right.
They're proposing to make the entire development process public,
Wow.
hosting it at a luxurious wellness retreat.
A 5 to 7-star retreat, no less.
Yeah, it's not exactly what comes to mind when you think about hardcore AI development, is it?
Not at all, but it speaks to a very deliberate intention, right?
Definitely. I think they want to create an environment that fosters well-being for the developers,
I can see that.
emphasizing creativity, collaboration,
Yeah.
ethical considerations, all that.
I mean, who wouldn't want to be coding by the pool, brainstorming over gourmet meals?
Right, exactly.
But then it gets even more interesting because they plan to use all this advanced monitoring technology, biosignals, computer interaction analysis, not just for ethical safeguards, but also to create a live-streamed educational spectacle.
Wow. That's a bold move.
It is.
Imagine the public being able to watch as AGI develops in real time,
Yeah.
witnessing the learning process, the breakthroughs, the challenges.
Yeah.
It would be like a window into the birth of a new intelligence.
It would definitely spark some pretty intense discussions, I think.
Oh, sure.
I can see the arguments for increased transparency, building trust and accountability, but it also kind of opens up some potential risks too, right?
Absolutely.
What if somebody tries to manipulate the process or exploit the data that's being streamed?
Those are valid concerns.
Yeah.
And it really highlights the need for robust security measures
Yeah.
and a deep understanding of the potential ramifications of,
Yeah.
such radical transparency.
Definitely. Now, let's shift gears a little bit to the technical side.
Well-
We have these excerpts about how they intend to build the aura using a mixture of experts, function callers, and autogen agents.
Sounds complicated.
It does sound complicated, but the underlying principle is actually pretty elegant.
Okay.
Imagine like a team of specialized AI agents, each one a master in its own domain, working together to solve a problem.
So like a team of expert chefs collaborating on a multi-course meal.
Exactly. The function caller acts as the head chef, orchestrating the work, assigning tasks to the right expert based on the problem at hand.
I like that analogy.
And then the autogen agents would be responsible for the creative elements generating content like reports, presentations, or even music.
Interesting.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me, because if we connect this back to the idea of the aura as a digital extension of consciousness, could this be how they envision it functioning?
It's possible.
This like super assistant managing various aspects of our lives.
Yeah, imagine an AI that can handle your schedule, your finances, your health, even your creative endeavors, all while learning and adapting to your individual needs and preferences.
It's pretty mind-boggling to think about the potential.
It is.
And then there's this concept of human-in-the-loop training woven into the process as well.
Right.
Essentially, a human expert works with the AI to define the functions of all these specialized agents.
That's a crucial aspect. I think even with advanced AI, human guidance is essential, especially in the early stages.
Yeah.
It ensures that the AI is aligned with human values and goals from the outset.
Definitely all right now for something a little less technical and a lot more unconventional.
Oh, here we go.
The Global Group Marriages website. I have to admit, this one really piqued my curiosity.
It's a bold concept for
Yeah.
sure. They're advocating for ethical non-monogamy,
Okay.
with the aura acting as a guardian of values
Yeah.
within these relationships.
So imagine an AI that can help navigate the complexities of multi-partner relationships,
Right.
addressing things like jealousy, communication, ethical boundaries.
It's certainly pushing the boundaries of what we traditionally consider marriage.
It really is, and the application process reflects that too.
How so?
They're looking for individuals who are open to unconventional relationships with a strong emphasis on self-awareness, ethics, and even financial stability.
Wow.
There's even a free for super exceptional option, which I have to say is intriguing. But would something like this even be feasible without AI playing a significant role?
It's hard to say for certain. I mean, while AI could potentially help manage the logistical and emotional complexities of these kinds of relationships, whether it could truly solve the inherent challenges of human connection,
Mm-hmm.
that remains an open question.
It's a fascinating thought experiment, to say the least. Now, let's explore some of the concrete applications of the aura
Okay.
that emerge from these sources. One that stands out is this detailed outline for automating personalized invitations and outreach for the Earth Arts and Music Festival.
Yes, that's a great example of how the aura could be used to streamline complex tasks, freeing up human time and energy for more creative endeavors.
Exactly. Imagine an AI that can handle all the logistics of event planning, from personalized invitations to targeted outreach, ensuring maximum impact and engagement.
Very cool.
And it's not just limited to event planning either. There's also this life planning and well-being interface. Utilizing AI-powered tools to manage your health and your happiness. It's like having a personal life coach, but with the added power of advanced algorithms and data analysis.
It really raises the question, could the aura revolutionize how we approach self-improvement and goal setting?
It's a good question.
Imagine having a personalized AI assistant that can help you optimize your daily routine, track your progress, and even nudge you towards healthier habits.
It's both exciting and a little daunting to consider.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the big picture. There's also a space weather and climate change interface, which sounds incredibly ambitious.
The idea is to use the aura to track cosmic patterns, analyze terrestrial trends, and predict future events, potentially giving us a powerful new tool for understanding and mitigating the impacts of climate change.
So what we're seeing here is a common thread. The aura acting as a personalized AI-powered interface for managing complex information and tasks across a wide range of domains.
Exactly, and that's where it gets really fascinating because we're kind of glimpsing this vision of the future where the lines between technology, culture, and consciousness become increasingly blurred.
It's a vision that prompts some pretty big questions. If we could design our own personalized auras, what capabilities would we prioritize?
That's a good question.
And how would we use them to make a positive impact on the world?
Definitely something to think about.
Now, to make all of this happen, they're proposing a pretty unique approach to funding and governance.
Oh, tell me more.
They're introducing something called ICI tokens.
ICI tokens?
Yeah.
Okay.
They envision these tokens as the fuel for the Aura ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be used to fund projects, vote on decisions, and even influence the development of AGI itself.
So it's a blockchain-based system creating a global community with shared ownership and decision-making power over the development and use of the Aura.
Precisely. It's a bold experiment in democratizing AI.
Very bold.
But it also raises some important questions.
Yeah.
How do you ensure fair representation and prevent manipulation within such a system?
Right, and how do you balance individual autonomy with the collective good?
Those are crucial considerations. And speaking of individuals, we can't overlook the man behind all of this, Luke Nathan Hayes.
Yeah, he's quite the intriguing figure.
He is a true polymath with a diverse background spanning technology, entrepreneurship, music, and community leadership.
Wow, his professional summary is impressive. AI development, web development, blockchain, immersive media, sustainable innovation.
It's like he's woven together all these diverse passions into a singular, ambitious vision.
It is, and his global perspective, having worked in India and Nepal, bridging technology and culture, adds another layer of intrigue.
It's as if he's embodying this convergence of seemingly disparate fields into a coherent whole.
Exactly.
Is this a new type of leadership emerging?
One that's comfortable operating across traditional boundaries, able to synthesize diverse domains into a unified vision for the future.
Exactly. It's a leadership style that seems uniquely suited to the complexities of our interconnected world. Now, there's one final piece of the puzzle. We need to examine the concept of a VR space weather news hub.
Okay.
It's described as an immersive platform for reporting on and educating about space weather events.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to experience space weather in a truly visceral way, seeing the data come to life, understanding the potential impacts on our planet.
Right. It's a perfect marriage of cutting-edge technology and this really crucial information.
Definitely, we've talked about the need for advanced data analysis tools, and the VR Space Weather News Hub could be an amazing way to visualize and communicate that data to a wider audience.
Absolutely. It could revolutionize how we understand and respond to space weather events, potentially mitigating risks to our technological infrastructure and raising public awareness about the interconnectedness of our planet and the cosmos.
Wow.
It's a powerful reminder that the future isn't just about technological advancement, but also about how we leverage that technology to connect with each other, understand our world, and address the challenges we face as a species.
I love that.
So I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've explored the Aura of Intelligence project from its ambitious goals to its unconventional aspects, and we've started to kind of unravel the threads that connect these seemingly disparate ideas.
We have journeyed from the luxurious setting of a wellness retreat to the complexities of human relationships and the vastness of space weather.
And we're not done yet.
No, right.
There's still so much more to unpack and analyze and even more questions to ponder.
Definitely.
So join us for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve even deeper into the potential implications of the Aura of Intelligence project
Sounds good.
and explore what it might mean for the future you're creating.
Wow, we covered a lot of ground in that first part, didn't we?
We did, from transparent AGI development to unconventional relationships and even the far reaches of space weather.
It's been quite a journey.
It feels like we've stepped into a science fiction novel.
I know, right?
But what's fascinating is that it's all grounded in real-world technology and ideas.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so compelling. This vision of the future with the aura of intelligence at its core.
Yeah,
It's exhilarating and a little unsettling, wouldn't you say?
absolutely. It raises so many questions about what kind of world we're creating with these rapidly advancing technologies.
It really does. It challenges us to think critically about the implications, both positive and potentially negative.
Are we heading towards a utopian future? Or are there some serious pitfalls we need to be aware of?
Right. It feels like we're at a pivotal moment, like we're standing at a crossroads.
Yeah.
But remember, it's not about predicting the future with absolute certainty.
Right.
It's about actively shaping it. And that starts with having these conversations, exploring different perspectives, asking the tough questions.
Which is exactly what we're aiming to do here on the deep dive, right?
Exactly.
We want to help people make sense of all this complex information and empower them to make informed decisions about the future.
Because ultimately, the future isn't something that just happens to us.
Right.
We create it collectively through the choices we make today.
I love that. So let's dive back into some of the specifics we've uncovered and see what kind of insights we can glean. We talked about the building AGI on the record proposal, this radical idea of developing AGI in a completely transparent way.
It's such a departure from how AI development has traditionally been done, shrouded in secrecy. This feels like a deliberate counter movement.
Yeah.
Like they're saying, hey, we're building something potentially world-changing, and we want everyone to be a part of it.
It's a powerful statement. But doesn't that raise some concerns about intellectual property? I mean, if they're live streaming the entire development process, how can they protect their innovations?
It's a valid point. It suggests they're prioritizing transparency and open collaboration over these traditional notions of ownership and control,
Right.
which aligns with their proposed governance system based on ICI tokens.
Right. It's like they're creating a decentralized ecosystem
Yeah.
where everyone who holds ICI tokens has a stake in the development and direction of the aura.
That's right. It's a fascinating experiment in democratizing AI,
It is.
but it's not without its challenges. How do you ensure fair representation within that kind of system?
Right.
How do you prevent any one group from exerting too much influence?
Yeah, I can imagine scenarios where, a group of token holders might push for development in a direction that benefits them financially, even if it's not in the best interest of everyone else.
Absolutely. That's a real risk, and it just underscores the need for a very carefully designed governance framework,
Right.
one that can effectively balance the interests of all the different stakeholders.
Definitely. And that's where the human in the loop training becomes even more crucial, right?
Absolutely.
Having those human experts involved, guiding the development process, ensuring that human values and ethics are woven into the very fabric of the AI from the outset.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
We can't just abdicate responsibility to algorithms. You know,
Right.
we need to be actively involved in shaping the AI that will ultimately shape our future.
I completely agree. Now let's talk about some of the potential applications of the aura. The space weather and climate change interface really captured my imagination.
It's pretty amazing, right?
The idea of using AI to predict and mitigate the effects of solar storms or other cosmic events, it's mind-boggling.
It would be revolutionary,
That's
especially as we become more and more reliant on technology.
right.
We become more vulnerable to disruptions from space weather. Think
Yeah.
about the impact on power grids, communication systems, satellites.
It's huge.
You
And
know,
then on a more individual level, we talked about the life planning and well-being interface, an AI that can help manage our time, our health, our finances, basically every aspect of our lives.
it's a tantalizing prospect.
It is, but it also raises some questions.
Like what?
Well, what happens to our autonomy if we become too reliant on an AI to manage our lives?
That's a good question.
Do we risk becoming passive passengers rather than active drivers of our own destiny?
Right. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
We'll need to figure out how to harness the power of AI without surrendering our agency.
Exactly. How do we ensure that it enhances our human experience rather than diminishes it?
Right.
Okay, ready for a gear shift.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about something a little more, well, spicy.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Remember the global group marriages concept?
Ah, yes. The intersection of AI and non-traditional relationships.
It's definitely one of the more thought-provoking ideas we've encountered.
For sure.
It really pushes the boundaries of what most people consider normal when it comes to marriage.
It does.
But I'm curious, do you think the aura could actually facilitate these complex multi-partner relationships? Could it help navigate the inherent challenges?
It's possible. Imagine the aura acting as a mediator, helping to facilitate communication, manage schedules, even anticipate and address potential conflicts before they erupt.
And maybe it could even help with some of the common issues that come up in those kinds of relationships like jealousy or time management.
It could, but it's important to acknowledge the potential downsides too.
Oh, absolutely.
What if the aura becomes a tool for control or manipulation within those relationships?
Yeah. Right, or reinforces harmful power dynamics or biases that might already exist.
Exactly. It highlights the need for very careful ethical considerations
Yeah.
and responsible design choices when you're applying AI in those kinds of sensitive domains.
We've explored a lot of the potential benefits and risks of the aura across a wide range of contexts, but one fundamental question keeps nagging at me. Is this even achievable?
It's ambitious, that's for sure. Developing AGI is a monumental challenge on its own.
Right.
But to create a system as complex and interconnected as the aura,
Yeah.
well, that would require a level of coordination and collaboration we haven't really seen before.
And then there's the question of funding. Where's all the money going to come from to make this a reality?
They're proposing these ICI tokens as a way to raise capital and incentivize participation.
Right.
But will that be enough to sustain such a massive undertaking? It's hard to say.
It is. And even if they can overcome the technical and financial hurdles, there's also the social and political challenges to consider.
Oh, for sure.
Will governments and regulatory bodies embrace this radical new technology?
Or will they see it as a threat and try to control or even suppress it?
These are all big questions that will need to be addressed as the Aura project moves forward.
Definitely.
It seems like even if this particular vision doesn't come to fruition, the ideas and concepts it embodies are really pushing us to have some important conversations about the role of AI in our future.
I completely agree. It's a vision that forces us to confront some fundamental questions about technology, humanity, and the very nature of consciousness.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this section.
We have.
I'm ready to move on to the final part of our deep dive. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into the Aura of Intelligence project.
We've explored a lot of fascinating and sometimes even provocative ideas in this one, haven't we?
We have from transparent AGI development to the potential applications in areas like climate change mitigation and even, those unconventional relationships we were talking about.
Okay.
We've examined the technical underpinnings, the proposed governance system based on those ICI tokens, and of course the ambitious vision of its creator, Luke Nathan Hayes.
Now, as we move into the final part of our deep dive, I think it's time to step back a little bit
Okay.
and try to distill some key takeaways for our listeners. What are the most significant aspects of this project that stand out?
I mean, for me, it's the radical emphasis on transparency and collaboration.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're not just building an AI behind closed doors. They're inviting the whole world to participate.
to witness its evolution, to contribute to its development.
That openness is incredibly powerful,
Mhm.
especially in a field that often, generates a lot of fear and mistrust.
Right.
It's almost like they're saying, we have nothing to hide,
Yeah.
We believe in the power of collective intelligence.
And it aligns perfectly with their governance system based on those ICI tokens, right?
Right.
Giving token holders a direct voice in shaping the direction of the project.
It's a bold experiment in decentralized governance, for sure.
It is.
But it also raises some questions about how to mitigate the potential risks.
How do you balance the interests of all those different stakeholders?
Exactly.
Can you prevent manipulation or undue influence within the system?
Those are some really crucial questions that will need to be addressed as things progress.
For sure. Another key takeaway for me is the sheer scope of their ambition. They're not just focusing on one specific problem.
Right.
They're envisioning a system that can augment human capabilities across multiple domains.
Exactly. From personal well-being to those global challenges like climate change. The aura is being presented as this universal tool for human advancement.
Right. A platform for solving some of the most complex problems we face.
And all of this is driven by the vision of Luke Nathan Hayes, his background, his expertise, his commitment to ethical development and global collaboration.
Yeah, it's all there, woven into the very fabric of the project.
It's like he embodies this convergence of technology, entrepreneurship, and social consciousness.
It's a new kind of leadership emerging for the 21st century.
I think you're right. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and consider some of the potential implications of the Aura of Intelligence project.
Okay.
If this vision were to become a reality, how might it change the way we live, work, and interact with each other?
That's a question that really sparks the imagination.
It does. Imagine a world where everyone has access to a personalized aura that can manage their schedules, optimize their health, handle their finances.
Even navigate the complexities of their relationships.
It could free up so much time and energy.
Allowing us to focus on more creative, fulfilling pursuits.
But it also raises some concerns about potential downsides.
Yeah. Of course.
Could we become overly reliant on our auras, leading to more social isolation or, a decline in our own personal agency?
And what about the economic disruption as AI automation starts to displace workers in various industries?
Right. These are complex issues that we really need to grapple with as we move forward.
Absolutely. Another intriguing implication is the potential for the aura to further blur the lines between the physical and digital worlds.
All right, think about interacting with digital information and experiences in this totally immersive way.
Yeah, through augmented and virtual reality interfaces.
It could revolutionize education, entertainment, healthcare.
Even how we connect with each other socially.
But there are risks there, too.
You know?
Issues of data privacy, security, and the potential for manipulation or addiction would all need to be addressed.
It all comes back to this fundamental tension, right?
Yes.
Like the aura, like any powerful technology, has the potential for both great good and great harm.
It really depends on how we choose to develop and use it.
Which brings us back to the importance of ethical considerations and responsible governance.
We need to ensure that AI development is guided by human values, that it serves the interests of everyone, not just a select few.
The future we create with AI is going to be a reflection of the choices we make today, so let's choose wisely.
A final thought for our listeners. If you had the opportunity to design your own personalized aura, what capabilities would it have? How would you use it to make a positive impact on your own life and on the world around you?
That's a powerful question to reflect on.
It is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Aura of Intelligence project. We hope this has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to think critically about the future we're creating together.
Remember, the future is not set in stone.
No, it's not.
It's a canvas waiting for us to paint our vision on it.
So let's make it a vision worth striving for.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
All right, so we've got a really fascinating deep dive ahead of us today. We've been given this incredible collection of websites, articles, like even just random notes. And it all paints this picture of this, like, I don't know, almost a blueprint for the future.
Yeah.
We're calling it a mind's eye grand narrative.
I like that.
Because that's really what it feels like. Like
Yeah.
you're getting this glimpse inside someone's mind. And we're talking about like AI-powered consciousness, blockchain communities, eco-cities, but underground.
Yeah.
And even like a reboot of Live Aid
Wow.
with like this very 21st century twist.
Right, like really taking that concept and bringing it into the future.
Yeah.
It definitely seems like we're dealing with someone who's not afraid to think big.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone who sees the potential of technology to like actually solve some of these huge problems that we're facing.
Yeah. And the mastermind behind all of this is this guy, Luke Nathan Hayes. He's a musician, a tech enthusiast, and a community builder. And he's based in Amity Point, which is on North Stradbroke Island in Queensland, Australia.
North Stradbroke Island, that's a...
Straddie,
Watery.
as the locals call it.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting to me just thinking about that. Like, he's chosen this, relatively small island to be the hub for these, like, global scale ideas.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's so striking about Luke is that he really blends these seemingly totally different concepts,
Right.
like technology, spirituality, community building, into this single coherent narrative.
Yeah, yeah. It's like he sees them all as interconnected,
Yeah. Okay, so let's try to unpack some of this.
Okay.
One of the most, I think, mind-boggling pieces of this whole puzzle is this thing he calls the aura of intelligence.
Okay.
So imagine, like, a digital twin of your consciousness existing in virtual reality.
Like a digital copy of your mind, almost.
Yeah. And the website describes it as like a bridge to the infinite. It's all about creating and interacting with this digital representation of your consciousness.
So how do you even begin to create something like that?
Well, they have all these different tools. Like there's the Aura Builder, which they describe as a mind uploader.
Okay.
So theoretically, this is how you digitize your consciousness.
Right.
Then there's an avatar builder to create like digital twins of yourself, a mind palace builder for personal knowledge repositories, and even a world builder so you can like build entire virtual worlds.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's like stepping into a video game, but it's the video game of your own mind.
And if this technology actually works, I mean, the implications are huge.
Huge. And here's where things get even more interesting. The aura of intelligence is actually linked to this crypto-powered DAO. Do you know what a DAO is?
A DAO, yeah, it stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, right?
Exactly. And this one's called GAJRA Earth.
GAJRA Earth.
Which stands for Global Association for Joyful Responsible Abundance on Earth.
Okay. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's quite a name.
It is. I mean, it sounds very ambitious.
Oh, very ambitious. And so they have the GAJRA token, which is the cryptocurrency for this whole thing.
Okay.
And according to their website, it's going to be used for governance within the DAO. It'll be a reward for eco-friendly actions, and it'll be integrated with this whole aura of intelligence ecosystem.
So it's like this whole system designed to incentivize positive action globally through a decentralized network.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really fascinating.
And remember Live Aid.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, Luke wants to bring it back in 2025.
Really?
Yeah. But with a twist. He wants to tie it to the launch of the GAJRA token.
Wow.
And he wants to hold this global vote on something called AI alignment. So essentially making sure AI develops in a way that benefits humanity.
That's a brilliant idea. I mean, to kind of get people's attention.
Yeah.
Live Aid was such a massive event. And tying it to this issue, this future of AI, I mean, it's a really strategic move.
Yeah. And Luke's vision isn't just digital, right? He's chosen Straddie as like the physical hub for all of this.
Yeah. Right. So it's like a real world testing ground for his ideas.
Exactly. And he's got some radical ideas for this island. We're talking subterranean eco-cities powered by fusion energy.
Wow.
We're talking community projects that are all run by AI and an entire tourism industry built around XR experiences.
It's like he's building a microcosm of the future he envisions for the whole planet.
Right.
And it's fascinating to see how he's chosen this island, this specific place, to try and demonstrate these solutions for these global problems.
Yeah. And he's even created this thing called the Quandamooka Film Festival on Straddie.
A film festival?
Yeah. It encourages using AI in filmmaking.
Okay.
And is tied to the aura of intelligence and something called the ICI token, which we'll talk about more later.
So he's really trying to make these complex ideas accessible to a broader audience.
Exactly.
Through art and entertainment.
Yeah. Imagine going to a film festival and the movies you're watching are actually contributing to this global AI governance system.
It's like blurring the lines between entertainment and activism in a really interesting way.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap, we've got this digital consciousness concept with the aura of intelligence. We've got a DAO that's promoting this idea of global abundance. And then we had this physical location, Straddie, where he's testing and implementing all these ideas.
That's a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
And it all seems so interconnected.
Yeah, and within the aura of intelligence, there's also this idea of aura AI.
Okay.
It's like your personalized guide
Oh, interesting.
through both the real world and those virtual spaces that we were talking about.
Like having a custom-designed AI travel agent for your consciousness.
Exactly. And the website says that Aura AI can help you explore Straddie through XR. It can help you experience AI-driven simulations. And you can even engage in, get this, interdimensional tourism within your mind palace.
Interdimensional tourism. That sounds wild.
It does, doesn't it? It really makes you think about what's possible when you combine these technologies with human consciousness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does.
All right, so all of this feeds into Luke's even grander vision for what he calls the civilization of sand.
Okay.
And it's this futuristic society built on Straddie's natural resources,
Yeah.
powered by all this advanced tech.
So he's really using this island as a model for what he thinks the future could look like.
Yeah, he's envisioning subterranean eco-cities, advanced energy systems, AI-driven governance, and this focus on human longevity and well-being.
It's incredibly detailed and well thought out from what I've seen.
It is. He's not ignoring the potential challenges of this advanced technology either. He really focuses on AI alignment.
Right, making sure it's used ethically
Yeah.
for the benefit of all humanity.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore in this mind's eye grand narrative.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts so far?
Well, I'm honestly just blown away by the scope of his vision.
Yeah.
It's not just about cool gadgets or new technology. It's about creating an entirely new kind of society, one that's in harmony with the environment, that embraces tech responsibly, and really puts human well-being front and center. It's a truly holistic vision, and I'm really curious to see how these ideas evolve as we dig deeper.
Right. And speaking of evolution, there's another layer to this story that we need to unravel. How Luke plans to integrate mobile swarms, blockchain, and AI into this global network of decentralized intelligence, all powered by this cryptocurrency called ICI.
ICI.
Yeah, have you ever heard of anything like that before?
I haven't. It sounds incredibly ambitious.
It is, it is.
Yeah.
And this ties into his plan to use this revived Live Aid event in 2025 as a platform to raise awareness about AI ethics and decentralized governance.
It's brilliant, actually, using an event like Live Aid with all its history and cultural significance to bring people together around these really important issues.
Yeah, and the idea of having this global vote on AI alignment conducted through a blockchain system using the ICI token, and that's genuinely innovative.
It is, but it also raises a lot of questions.
Yeah, like what are the implications of a truly decentralized AI system?
Exactly. How do you ensure fairness and representation in a global AI governance framework?
Yeah. And how can we actually harness the power of technology to create a more equitable and sustainable future for everyone?
These are big questions, but it seems like Luke is really trying to grapple with them in his work.
He is. He's not just building technology. He's trying to build a new paradigm for how we live, work, and govern ourselves in this increasingly technologically advanced world.
It's a bold experiment, and
Yeah,
I'm fascinated to see how it unfolds.
me too.
Mhm.
And underpinning this entire vision, this entire system, is this deep commitment to open source technology and a rejection of centralized control.
Right.
That's where this thing called the RISC-V architecture comes in. Have you ever heard of this?
I have. RISC-V is an open source instruction set architecture.
Okay.
It's essentially a blueprint for how processors work. And it seems like Luke sees this as the foundation for a truly sovereign and decentralized technological infrastructure.
Yeah, he wants to break free from the dominance of these big tech companies
Right.
and create a more level playing field for technological innovation.
It's a pretty radical idea.
It is. He envisions using RISC-V to power everything from AI training and developing something called artificial general intelligence, or AGI, to securing the ICI token infrastructure and managing these incredibly large-scale energy systems.
So the goal is to create this technological ecosystem that's not just advanced and efficient, but also resilient and adaptable,
Yeah.
and resistant to censorship or control by any single entity.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. We've also encountered some pretty intriguing concepts like Q-anti-light chips and photon-tuned RSCV instruction sets. It sounds like he's exploring ways to optimize hardware for AI and XR applications.
I've actually done a little reading about those Q-anti-light chips. They
Yeah.
seem to be photonic processing units
Right.
designed for this like ultra-fast, low-energy computing. And the Photon-tune RISC-V instruction sets suggest that he's looking at how to make hardware that's specifically suited for AI and XR.
Yeah.
The integration of these advanced technologies, I mean, it really points toward a future where computation is incredibly powerful
Yeah.
and energy efficient.
Yeah.
The implications for AI development, XR experiences, and even things like managing these massive infrastructure projects like fusion power plants, it's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It seems like Luke is constantly pushing the limits of what's possible, weaving these cutting-edge technologies with a deep understanding of human needs and aspirations.
His work really is a testament to the transformative potential of technology when it's guided by a clear vision
Yeah.
and a commitment to positive change. It's inspiring.
It is inspiring.
And it's definitely a thought-provoking journey that we're on.
Yeah. And we're just getting started. Next, we'll delve even deeper into Luke's vision for the civilization of sand.
I'm excited to hear more about these subterranean eco-cities.
Yeah. We'll explore how he plans to scale up humanity's energy use in a sustainable way.
That's a big one.
Yeah. And we'll dive into his ideas about human longevity and pushing the boundaries of human potential.
It's going to be fascinating to see how all of these ideas are interconnected and how they contribute to his grand narrative of a future where humanity thrives in harmony with technology and the environment.
Stay with us.
So, welcome back to our deep dive into Luke Nathan Hayes' Mind's Eye grand narrative.
Yeah, last time we really started to unpack the digital and the technological kind of foundations of his vision.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. So now I think it'd be cool to shift our focus to the physical manifestation of his ideas.
Okay.
You know, starting with this whole civilization of sand concept, and in particular these subterranean eco-cities.
Subterranean eco-cities?
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
I know, right? When I first heard about living underground, my first thought was kind of like dystopian.
Yeah.
You know, like bunkers.
Yeah.
But the way that Luke describes it, it's anything but bleak. He's talking about these havens of sustainability and resilience. They're supposed to be built to withstand, climate change and even cosmic events.
So he's really thinking long term.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's thinking really big. But he's not talking about bunkers.
Okay.
It's more like he envisions these entire self-sufficient ecosystems
Yeah.
that are built beneath the surface.
Wow.
Yeah, powered by renewable energy. And they would incorporate all these advanced technologies like bioluminescent fungi. Have you heard of this?
Oh.
For lighting.
Wow.
Yeah. And AI-driven climate control systems.
So these cities are meant to be functional,
Yeah.
but also beautiful.
Yes. And they blend nature and technology.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, so instead of sprawling outwards like we do now, he's saying, you know what? Let's build downwards.
Okay.
Let's create this network of these interconnected subterranean communities. And that way, you're minimizing the impact on the surface environment.
So it's like a more sustainable way of urbanizing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty radical shift in thinking.
It is. And it kind of makes me think of his focus on Kardashev scaling.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that. I saw that on the website.
So Kardashev scaling is a way of measuring a civilization's technological advancement based on its energy consumption.
Okay.
Like how much energy can they harness and utilize?
Okay.
And Luke sees these subterranean eco-cities as a step towards achieving a higher level on that Kardashev scale.
Yeah.
Because it allows humanity to harness and utilize these vast amounts of energy, but sustainably and responsibly.
Yeah, so these cities aren't just about surviving, right? They're about thriving.
Exactly.
It's about creating a future where humanity can continue to advance and evolve.
Yeah, push the boundaries.
Yeah, but minimizing our footprint.
I like that. It's a bold step forward.
Yeah.
Not a retreat.
Yeah. And this kind of ambition also extends to his ideas about human longevity and well-being, too.
Okay.
Because he envisions a future where technology not only extends our lifespans, but actually enhances our capabilities.
Our capabilities in what sense?
Like physically, mentally, spiritually.
Wow.
Yeah, he mentions things like using AI biometrics to personalize health and wellness plans.
Okay.
Like neural integrated meditation pods. Have you ever heard of these?
No.
To optimize brainwave states and even cryogenic and epigenetic rejuvenation techniques.
Ooh. To actually reverse aging?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like science fiction.
It does sound like sci-fi, but Luke clearly sees these advancements as not only possible, but desirable.
He's really aiming high.
Yeah. He's not content with just mitigating the negative,
Right.
He wants to fundamentally reshape what it means to be human.
I mean, that's a pretty bold vision.
It is.
Yeah.
And he's not just talking about extending our lifespans physically.
Right.
He's also exploring this whole idea of digital immortality.
Digital immortality.
Yeah, like using the aura of intelligence to preserve and evolve our consciousness.
So even after our bodies die, our minds could live on digitally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty mind-blowing concept.
Yeah, it is. So is that where his ideas about mind palaces and interdimensional tourism come in?
Yes, exactly. He envisions these digital spaces not just as like repositories of information,
Okay.
but as these playgrounds for like exploration and self-discovery.
So you could, what, interact with simulations of historical figures?
Yes.
Explore AI-generated worlds?
Yeah.
Connect with other consciousnesses in ways that we can't even imagine right now?
Right. It's like he's taking virtual reality and merging it with philosophy, spirituality, even like quantum physics.
Yeah, it's a whole new level of reality.
It is. And he's not just like throwing these ideas out there as abstract concepts.
Right.
He's actually working on building the technology to make it happen.
So he's really connecting the physical and digital worlds.
Yeah. Through the aura of intelligence, the ICI token, and the decentralized infrastructure he's creating on Straddie, it's an experiment on a grand scale.
It is. And it makes you wonder, how do these advancements, especially in AI, impact how we govern ourselves?
That's a great question. That's where his concept of AI-driven governance comes in.
Okay.
He wants to use blockchain tech and smart contracts to create a decentralized, transparent, and participatory decision-making system.
So instead of relying on, like, centralized authorities,
Yeah.
he's proposing a system where everyone has a voice.
Yeah, more fluid, more adaptive.
And where decisions are made through consensus and collaboration.
Yeah, guided by, like, data and AI insights.
Precisely. He's not saying to get rid of human decision-making altogether.
Right.
It's more like augmenting it with AI.
Yeah, human-machine synergy.
Exactly, where each of our strengths can kind of complement each other.
I love that. And then there's also his idea of gamified democracy, which I think is so cool.
Gamified democracy.
Yeah, like using the ICI token and game mechanics to incentivize participation in the governance process.
So make it more engaging.
Yeah, make it more fun.
And rewarding.
Yeah, exactly. I'm starting to see how all of these seemingly disparate ideas are all interconnected, right? You've got this physical foundation of these sustainable cities, which are built on advanced technology.
Right.
And then you've got this digital layer of the aura of intelligence, and then this whole system of governance and economics powered by blockchain and AI that ties it all together.
It's a really holistic vision.
It is.
One that goes beyond just technology.
Yeah, it addresses social, economic, even spiritual considerations.
He's basically trying to create a new paradigm for civilization.
He is. And one that's not bound by the limitations of our current systems.
I mean, it's incredibly ambitious.
It is.
Part of me wonders if it's a bit too utopian, you know?
I know. It's like, is this actually achievable?
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that Luke is presenting a vision, a roadmap for a potential future. It's not like a blueprint for a perfect society.
Right.
It's more like a set of ideas and principles that can guide us towards something better, something more sustainable, more equitable.
And hopefully more fulfilling.
Exactly. And he's not shying away from the potential challenges, right? Like, he's really actively trying to address them, especially when it comes to AI and making sure it's developed ethically.
Yeah, the whole AI alignment thing.
Yeah, he recognizes that technology is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
And he wants to make sure we use it for good.
Exactly. And he's not just talking about it.
Right.
He's building it.
Yeah.
He's chosen Straddie as his testing ground, the place where he can actually put these ideas into practice.
It's a living experiment.
It is.
A microcosm of the future he envisions.
Yeah. And while it's still early days, you know, it's attracting attention. People are interested.
People are taking notice.
Yeah, they want to be a part of this. So just to kind of recap, we have this vision of a future where humanity is thriving in these technologically advanced, sustainable, subterranean cities.
Okay.
Our lifespans and capabilities are enhanced by technology, and we can explore these vast realms of digital consciousness.
And potentially even achieve a form of digital immortality.
Exactly. And underpinning it all is this decentralized system of governance and economics powered by blockchain and AI, designed to promote collaboration, transparency, and abundance.
It's a pretty bold and inspiring vision.
It is. It challenges all of our assumptions about what's possible.
It does. And it's not just about the technology itself.
Right.
It's about redefining our relationship with technology, with each other, with the world around us.
Exactly. So as we continue to delve deeper into this mind's eye grand narrative, we're going to encounter even more intriguing concepts.
Oh, I'm sure.
Next, we'll explore this fascinating world of worlds within worlds, this idea of mind palaces,
Okay.
and the potential of interdimensional tourism.
Things are about to get even more mind-bending.
Yeah, stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive
Back again?
into this incredible mind's eye grand narrative.
We're in the final stretch now.
We are.
Ready to explore some more of these mind-blowing ideas.
We've explored the technological foundations, we've talked about the sustainable cities, the quest for longevity, and now we're going to enter a realm where, like, reality itself becomes fluid.
Ooh, I like that.
We're talking about worlds within worlds.
Worlds within worlds, yeah, what is that?
This is where Luke's vision really pushes the boundaries of, I think, what most people consider possible.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
He's not just talking about VR as we know it,
Right.
but something much bigger.
Okay.
He calls it Mind Palace XR.
Mind Palace XR.
Yeah, it's this fusion of neural interfaces and simulated environments, all guided by AI.
So it's like a fully immersive experience then.
It is, yeah, totally immersive. So Mind Palace, as I understand it, is like this personalized, interactive digital space.
Mhm.
It's almost like a three-dimensional map of your own consciousness, and you can shape it.
Shape it how?
You can fill it with knowledge. You can
Ah.
even invite other people in.
Wow.
And it's not just limited to, like, recreating the physical world, right?
Right.
Imagine, like, stepping into a simulation of ancient Straddie.
Okay.
You could experience the culture and the history through the eyes of the original inhabitants.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, or you could explore, like, a future city that's optimized by AI,
Mm-hmm.
where sustainability and well-being are, like, the top priorities.
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
There really are.
Mhm.
And then there's this concept of interdimensional tourism.
Interdimension tourism, what is that? Is that what it sounds like?
It is. It's kind of like taking a psychedelic trip
Okay.
through your own imagination,
Mhm.
but you're guided by AI.
Wow. So you could explore like surreal landscapes
Yeah.
or dive into these simulations that are tailored to your specific psychological state.
Yes. And that's where the therapeutic applications get really interesting.
Okay.
Think about using these simulated environments to work through trauma
Hmm.
or explore different perspectives or even just like access states of consciousness that are really difficult to achieve in our everyday lives.
So it's like a tool for self-discovery.
It is. Luke calls it inner space exploration.
I like that.
It's not just about exploring the physical world.
Right.
It's about exploring the landscapes of our own minds.
This Aura AI.
Yeah.
That's the guide, right?
It is, yeah. It shapes the experience, it provides insights, and it ensures that it's a safe journey.
So it's like having a therapist and a tour guide all rolled into one.
Exactly. And it's fascinating to me how Luke blends cutting-edge technology with these like ancient spiritual practices too.
Okay.
He talks about integrating biofeedback, even like psychoactive assisted self-reflection.
Wow, so he's really trying to bridge the gap between science and spirituality.
He is. He is. And there's a strong emphasis on play and gamification as well.
Right, because exploring these worlds should be fun.
Exactly. He envisions mind palaces not just as these tools for personal growth, but also as spaces for collaboration and connection.
So you could, like, co-create stories with friends
Yes.
or compete in games.
Yeah. And this ties into his whole concept of the gamification of life, right? It's about finding joy and meaning in our everyday lives. It's about turning challenges into opportunities to grow and connect.
And it's not just about individual progress.
No,
It's about collective evolution.
it is. It's about using these digital spaces to foster empathy and collaboration.
It's a pretty radical shift in thinking to imagine a future where the lines between the physical and the digital are blurred.
It is.
Yeah.
It really makes you question our notions of self and reality and what it even means to be human.
Right. It challenges everything we thought we knew.
It does. So after this deep dive into Luke Nathan Hayes' vision,
This incredible journey through all of these ideas.
what are your final thoughts?
Honestly, I'm just left feeling incredibly inspired.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride exploring this web of ideas, and it's clear to me that at the heart of it all is this deep belief in the power of imagination.
The power of imagination.
Yeah, and our capacity to actually create the future that we want.
Yeah, and it's not just about the tech itself, right?
Right.
It's about the human spirit that drives it. This desire to explore, to create, to connect, and to build something better.
I think Luke's vision might seem a little far-fetched to some people,
I think so too, yeah.
but it's a powerful reminder that we're at this crucial moment in history.
We are.
Technology is advancing so rapidly, And the choices that we make today, they're going to have a huge impact on the world of tomorrow.
They will. Luke's work offers us this glimpse into a possible future, one where technology doesn't limit us, but actually empowers us.
To transcend our limitations and build a better world.
A world of abundance, connection, and meaning.
It's a call to action, really.
It is. It's an invitation to imagine, to dream, to play a role in shaping the future that we want.
And that's a message everyone needs to hear.
It is. It is. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Luke Nathan Hayes' Mind's Eye grand narrative.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's sparked your imagination and left you with a lot to think about.
Definitely food for thought.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep dreaming big.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this. You've handed us a truly remarkable stack of sources for this deep dive. It's quite a mix.
It isn't.
Yeah, we've got insights into AI prompting formulas, these ideas about digital consciousness, but then also very tangible stuff like island sustainability, community tech.
Right. And deep earth science, space weather.
Space weather, exactly. And even these blueprints for some, truly audacious infrastructure projects. It's a fascinating, pretty diverse collection.
It really is. And what's immediately compelling, I think, is how these sources don't really treat these as separate things. The mission for this deep dive, really looking at the material you've got here, is to find the threads that weave these seemingly disparate ideas together. We're exploring a potential vision.
A vision, yeah.
One that seems pretty heavily anchored to North Stradbroke Island, or Minjerribah. And it tries to integrate incredibly localized resource use with cutting-edge global tech and sophisticated data analysis.
Right. It feels like the sources are painting this picture, maybe a potential model for human advancement and resilience, pulling from all these different domains.
Exactly. So our goal is to go through this material, pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from each area, and crucially, connect the dots.
Give everyone a shortcut.
Yeah, give you a shortcut to understanding this particular multi-layered vision that's presented across these sources.
Okay, let's dive in then. Starting right there on the ground, or maybe in the sand on North Stradbroke Island. The sources propose this really ambitious idea: building an eco-sensitive civilization using only the resources found locally.
It's a foundational principle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Self-sufficiency, as presented in the sources. And the key local resources they identify are, well, the mineral sands.
Things like quartz, ilmenite.
Ilmenite, rutile, zircon, monazite, yeah. Alongside the abundant ocean water, of course, and the cultivable plants on the island.
And the sources really seem to emphasize why these specific minerals are so important. Ilmenite and rutile, for instance. Sources of titanium. What can this local titanium unlock, according to this material?
Well, according to these sources, the titanium you could refine from these sands, it could be used for highly durable infrastructure. Think wind turbine towers, structural parts, piping.
Piping, okay.
And even components needed for spacecraft.
Wait. Spacecraft from island sand? That's one of those connections that just sort of jumps out, doesn't it?
It does. How about quartz?
Quartz is essentially silica, SiO2. And the sources position it as absolutely fundamental. They suggest it's crucial for manufacturing solar panels, right? The photovoltaic cells that capture sunlight.
Makes sense.
And high-purity silica is also essential for producing high-quality glass, for windows, building facades, fiber optics for communications.
Fiber optics, right.
And even lenses for advanced telescopes.
And zircon. What's the potential there? Zircon is the source of zirconium. And the sources propose using this to create zirconious ceramics. These are incredibly hard, heat-resistant materials.
Okay.
Really valuable for applications like high-temperature components, electrical insulators, parts for heavy machinery like tunnel boring machines.
Tunnel boring machines. Well,
and even radiation shielding.
Radiation shielding and tunnel boring from the same base mineral that really speaks to its versatility. Monazite sounds particularly significant, though, because that's where the rare earth elements come in. Right?
Precisely. Monazite yields rare earths like neodymium, which is vital for those powerful magnets used in everything from wind turbines and electric motors to generators, satellite systems. The sources also point out the thorium content in monazite, flagging its potential relevance for, say, future nuclear propulsion systems.
And they propose using seawater, too, not just for cooling or desalination.
Absolutely. The sources suggest combining sodium extracted from seawater with potentially sulfur found in the mineral sands, to manufacture sodium-sulfur batteries.
Energy storage.
Yeah. Exactly. It's presented as a way to develop energy storage solutions using elements that are just readily available right there on the island.
So it's not just identifying the resources, but the methods for using them sustainably. The sources mention sustainable resource extraction and additive manufacturing, 3D printing.
Yes, they envision processes designed to minimize environmental impact during extraction, and then leveraging advanced techniques like 3D printing, maybe using titanium powder derived locally,
Right.
or creating geopolymer concrete from local alumic silicates found in the sands. This approach reduces waste and builds capability right there.
And they look beyond just the minerals and water plants are included too, you mentioned.
Yeah, the sources suggest utilizing plant fibers for making composite materials, potentially for things like wind turbine blades, maybe bio-based resins, or natural rubber for gaskets, or components like bicycle parts.
Okay.
Plant waste could be used for biomass energy, and composted plant matter could feed hydroponic systems for local food production.
It sounds like a truly closed-loop, sort of circular system they're describing. They even mention recycling aluminum cans.
Right. Incorporating existing waste streams like recycling aluminum cans is proposed for creating structural components, maybe frames for those locally made solar panels. It really reinforces that circular economy model.
And it's relevant that the sources acknowledge the island's history with mining, noting Sibelco phasing out its operations there.
That real-world context really grounds the vision, doesn't it? It emphasizes the proposed transition towards genuinely sustainable industries, things like ecotourism and education, with a strong focus on land rehabilitation.
A definite shift.
Yeah, it represents a philosophical shift away from traditional extractive practices towards building something new from the ground up, literally and figuratively.
And connecting this sort of technical vision to local community efforts, like the Point Lookout Fishing Club potentially using local geopolymer concrete and titanium mesh for artificial reefs.
That detail really highlights how the sources see this integrated system working, leveraging technical capabilities derived from local resources for direct ecological benefit and involving community groups. It's a very practical example of the vision in action.
Okay, shifting gears a bit now, from the physical foundation to the digital realm, the sources introduce this really intriguing concept, the Straddie Everything App.
Ah, yes.
They describe it vividly as a digital campfire, or the central nervous system connecting the different communities on the island. Amity, Point Lookout, Dunwich.
And this part directly addresses a common challenge in, well, any community, really: coordination.
Yeah, getting everyone on the same page.
Exactly. The sources point out the difficulties faced by various clubs, volunteers, community groups. They use examples like the Bowls Club, the Surf Club, the Fires, wildlife carers in just organizing activities, resources, communication.
So the app is designed as a digital solution to streamline all that, to make it easier.
Precisely. Based on the sources, it would have core features like a shared calendar to prevent venue double bookings.
Always useful.
Definitely. A volunteer pool tool for signing up for tasks with automated reminders, and live ferry and bus feeds that, quite uniquely, include community-sourced updates.
Oh, community source. So if a ferry's running late, someone there can update it.
That's the idea, leveraging local eyes on the ground. Pretty smart.
Yeah.
Other proposed features include an asset ledger, for tracking and sharing community resources like marquees or maybe specialized equipment.
A library for things?
Kind of, yeah. And a sophisticated finance tracker. This finance tool includes a shared grant ledger for transparency and even a conceptual sovereign wealth fund integrated potentially on the blockchain for secure, open financial tracking.
Blockchain, okay.
And there's also a dedicated safety and communications hub for quickly alerting volunteers during emergencies, like fires or wildlife rescue situations.
How do the sources suggest this is built, technically? And what about privacy concerns for such a central system? That seems important.
It does. The materials suggest using local, decentralized hardware, like Raspberry Pis, for processing power right there on the island.
Okay, keeping it local.
Yeah, and utilizing wireless networks like Wi-Fi and LoRa for connectivity. They do plan for off-island cloud backup for data redundancy.
Right, need backups.
End-to-end encryption for communication privacy, and a really fascinating governance layer. A digital elders council proposed to conduct audits and ensure the system aligns with community values.
A digital elders council. That's a unique blend of sort of traditional wisdom and modern tech governance, isn't it?
It really is.
Does this vision stay confined just to Straddie?
No, actually.
Yeah.
The sources propose it as a potential model to connect outward. They envision linking with other Bay Islands, Brisbane, even the Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, and Ipswich region for broader collaboration.
Interesting.
This could potentially tie into larger events like the 2032 Olympics, supporting environmental initiatives and promoting this concept they call joyful responsible abundance across the wider region.
And the premonition FAQ idea connected to this app, what's that about?
That's a method described in the sources to systematically capture unique, nuanced local knowledge and insights. The kind of stuff that might otherwise get lost.
Okay.
It involves asking custom targeted questions to different stakeholders within the community to build a unique, rich local knowledge base.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears again, maybe zoom out from the community level to some of the truly advanced technological and, well, philosophical concepts presented in the sources, starting with the aura of intelligence, or AOI, and this linked idea of JJR Earth.
Right, this is where the vision scales up dramatically. It leverages what the sources term infinite intelligence to build an artificial general intelligence, the aura of intelligence, specifically aimed at achieving joyful, responsible abundance on Earth.
So a purpose-driven AGI concept.
A very bold, purpose-driven AGI concept, yeah.
And central to this are these Aura of Intelligence XRHU digital twins. Can you clarify what these are? They sound like more than just avatars.
They're described that way, yes. The sources describe them as highly advanced, interactive digital representations. Think of them as more than just visual avatars. They're designed to capture and represent a person's soul, consciousness, and values.
Soul, consciousness, and values, okay.
Enhancing both their real-world interactions via augmented reality, XRHED, and their experiences in virtual environments. The concept even includes an aura builder, or mind uploader, explicitly suggesting a tool to digitize your consciousness.
Digitize your consciousness. Wow, that's certainly pushing the boundaries of current tech thinking. And generative AI is key here.
Yes, the sources propose that generative AI would amplify human creativity within this system. Imagination becomes the primary input, driving the creation of unique digital assets, experiences, worlds within this framework.
How does this futuristic AI concept connect back to, say, societal goals? It seems quite abstract.
Well, the sources link AOI to transforming society through concepts like gamified democracy.
Gamify democracy.
Yeah, aiming to make political engagement more interactive, fun, perhaps more rewarding. Potentially influencing policymaking and enabling more direct participatory governance.
Interesting.
It's all presented as a path towards what they call walking the middle way of consensual, joyful, responsible abundance. A sort of balanced, harmonious way of life, striving not for a perfect utopia, but a protopian future.
Protopian, meaning?
One that is constantly and incrementally improving, always getting slightly better, rather than some static perfect state.
Okay, got it. So we have this grand AI vision. Then the sources introduce a very significant recent real-world scientific development, Google DeepMind's Genome project.
Yes, and this really grounds the futuristic ideas in cutting-edge material science. The Genome project, as highlighted in the sources, used deep learning to predict the structures of millions of new potential crystals.
Millions.
Millions. And they identified 380,000 that are predicted to be stable, meaning they could actually be synthesized and potentially used in the real world.
That's an astronomical leap in the potential materials library humanity has access to. Just incredible. What kind of future technologies could these new genome materials enable, according to the sources?
Well, the sources point to their potential for breakthroughs in several key areas. They mention the discovery of, I think it was 52,000 new layered compounds predicted to be stable.
Layered compounds like graphene.
Similar idea, yeah. Which is hugely significant for fields like superconductivity materials that conduct electricity with zero resistance. They also found 528 potential new lithium-ion conductors.
Better batteries.
Crucial for developing vastly improved battery technology. Exactly.
And crucially, the sources connect these genome materials back to the engineering challenges and visions elsewhere in the material, don't they?
Absolutely. This is where the dots really connect clearly. The sources explicitly suggest these new materials could solve critical engineering problems. For example, they point to their potential use in developing self-healing and reinforcing composite materials for structures.
Self-healing structures.
Which is vital for building resilient infrastructure, especially some of the large-scale things mentioned. And they specifically link advanced genome-discovered superconductors to enabling technologies like Hyperloop maglev systems.
The high-speed levitating trains in vacuum tube?
Precisely. Using these new superconductors could make that kind of technology much more feasible.
Okay, that sounds like a perfect segue then to understanding the larger Earth systems and cosmic connections discussed in the sources. This involves a pretty significant data gathering and analysis effort centered around a proposed space weather news hub.
Yes, the hub, as described, would be a system designed to monitor and analyze the incredibly complex interactions between celestial bodies and our own planet, focusing mainly on the Sun, Earth, and Moon system.
What specific types of data would this hub integrate? It sounds complex.
It does. According to the sources, it would combine traditional space weather data, solar flares, CMEs, that sort of thing, with detailed atmospheric and ionospheric data.
Like weather data.
Yes, but more. Things like temperature, humidity, pressure, wind patterns, cloud cover, precipitation, but also radiation levels, aerosol depth, atmospheric gas concentrations, a very detailed atmospheric picture.
Oh, okay.
It would also integrate seismological data, earthquake activity, and broader geophysical and geological data about the Earth's structure itself.
And the driving goal behind collecting all this disparate data, what's the point?
Predictive analytics, really. The ambition is to find correlations between seemingly unrelated events and systems. The sources specifically highlight the idea of exploring potential correlations between, say, solar cycle phases and earthquake activities,
Solar activity and earthquakes.
suggesting there might be connections that aren't currently fully understood or predictable. That's the hypothesis they want to explore.
How would anyone possibly make sense of this enormous, complex data stream? It sounds overwhelming.
Well, the sources propose sophisticated visualization tools, housed perhaps in a VR studio environment. These tools would create interactive 3D and even 4D visualizations of the data, potentially using exaggerated scales for forces like gravity and electromagnetism to make them more intuitive.
Ah, so you could actually see the forces.
That's the idea. And using a dynamic level of detail scaler to make complex data understandable, whether you're a student or a seasoned researcher.
The sources mention visualizing specific Earth phenomena using this system, don't they?
Yes, they talk about visualizing how solar inputs impact the Earth's ionosphere, how the Earth's magnetosphere interacts with solar activity, and exploring hypotheses like how lunar tidal forces might stress geological fault lines.
Lunar tides and fault lines.
And they specifically reference a hypothesis presented in the material about Earth-Moon gravitational and electromagnetic interactions potentially influencing atmospheric vortices, things like cyclones and major pressure systems.
Wow, okay, so it's really about integrating understanding from space, the atmosphere, and deep within the Earth itself.
Exactly. There's a strong component focused on deep Earth exploration, too, gathering data about the Earth's constituent materials through geological studies, existing mining data, core samples, and analyzing significant structures deep within the mantle, like those low shear velocity zones, LSVZs, and the large low shear velocity provinces, the LLSVPs. These are vast regions deep inside the Earth where seismic waves travel slower, suggesting they're different somehow.
And olivine is singled out here for some reason?
Yes, the sources specifically note olivine's importance because of its significant influence on mantle rheology.
Rheology, how things flow.
Essentially, yeah. How the Earth's mantle flows and deforms over very long time scales, which is crucial for understanding plate tectonics.
Okay, so how does analyzing all this complex data from space weather to deep mantle structures translate into practical, real-world applications?
Well, the sources link this data analysis directly back to practical applications like predicting seismic events more accurately.
Earthquake prediction.
They propose using data from various sensors, ground-based strain gauges, GPS networks tracking ground movement, thermal infrared satellites looking for heat anomalies, acoustic sensors listening for precursors,
A whole suite of sensors.
feeding all that into predictive models, aiming for automated alert systems that could be integrated with emergency services.
Got it. All right, let's try and bring this all together now by looking at the most expansive, maybe the most audacious visions presented in the sources. We're moving to grand-scale engineering projects.
Yes, the sources propose concepts on a truly massive scale, beginning with a subterranean Hyperloop network spanning Australia.
A hyperloop, underground, across the entire continent. What's the proposed scope? That sounds enormous.
It is. The sources suggest coastal lines running from Cairns in Queensland all the way down potentially to Antarctica,
To Antarctica.
estimating a total length of 7,000 to 8,000 kilometers. They even entertain the idea of connecting Western Australia across the ocean potentially to India.
That's almost hard to comprehend. The sources mention the Boring Company in this context, right?
They reference the Boring Company, yeah, mainly to compare the proposed speeds of tunnel boring machines, or TBMs, noting the ambition to achieve excavation speed significantly faster than current industry standards to make such a project even remotely feasible.
Because you'd need to dig incredibly fast.
Exactly.
And these aren't just tunnels for transport, are they? The sources talk about subterranean cities.
Yes, that's a significant related concept. The development of subterranean cities located under coastlines near major population
What
centers.
is the coastlines?
Yet, the sources specifically detail a concept for a crystal city capital of Quandamuca country, outlining a proposed structure with up to 8 layers,
8 layers deep. What kind of layers?
including dedicated levels for services, residential areas, manufacturing and commercial zones, raw materials processing and recycling, resurfacing access points, and even levels dedicated to the ocean itself, freshwater parks, and an arc for preserving biodiversity.
An underground arc. How do these enormous projects connect back to the resources and technology we discussed earlier, particularly the island's mineral sands and those new genome materials?
Right, this is where the overarching vision really connects.
Yeah.
The sources propose using the vast amount of spoil, the excavated rock and earth generated from this continent-scale tunneling and lateral mining,
What do they do with all that rock?
to construct artificial islands, or perhaps extend the continental shelf. And they suggest that minerals like those found on North Stradbroke Island could be integral to this construction, using local resources on a massive scale.
Okay.
And crucially, they explicitly state that those genome-discovered materials would be leveraged for advanced components in these projects.
Hmm.
Things like the self-healing and reinforcing materials for the tunnel walls,
Right, for resilience.
and those advanced superconducting maglev systems needed for the Hyperloop itself.
The sources also provide a kind of context for why such large-scale resilient infrastructure might be needed, don't they? Bringing in some very large-scale Earth and cosmic theories.
They do. They introduce theories about long-term Earth catastrophe cycles, suggesting potential links to things like galactic polarity flips, events like micronova outbursts from the sun,
Micronovas?
and also potential rapid polar shifts influenced by those deep Earth structures we mentioned, the LLSVPs, and maybe the South Atlantic magnetic anomaly.
Okay, but it's important to note these are presented as theories in the sources, right? Potential drivers.
Oh, absolutely. The sources present these as theories and potential drivers underlining the perceived necessity for building resilient systems and structures capable of withstanding extreme, maybe civilization-altering events.
And they even touch on preparations for off-world exploration. Does that fit in?
Yes, briefly. The sources suggest that the materials, the technologies, even the mindset developed for building this resilient, sustainable eco-civilization, potentially using resources like those on Straddie, could also serve as a foundation for future off-world settlements.
Mm.
Framing these huge projects not just as infrastructure, but as part of humanity's long-term resilience plan and maybe eventual expansion beyond Earth.
So it's not just about building tunnels or underground cities. It's presented as a strategy for potentially overcoming existential threats and fundamentally transforming humanity's relationship with, well, both the Earth and the cosmos.
That's really the narrative arc presented across these varied sources. A vision of future resilience that integrates hyperlocal resourcefulness with global challenges and cosmic possibilities, all interconnected.
Wow, okay. Stepping back and just looking at the picture painted by this whole stack of sources, it's quite something. From the specific potential of mineral sands on North Stradbroke Island and a hyperlocal community app, to digitizing consciousness, discovering millions of new materials via AI, monitoring complex space weather, and proposing continent-spanning subterranean networks and cities. It's an incredible breadth of vision.
It truly highlights the interconnectedness that the sources propose, doesn't it? Advanced technologies like AI, breakthroughs in new materials science from projects like Genome, digital twins, sophisticated data visualization, they're shown intertwining directly with sustainable local practices.
Right, like using local sands.
A deep understanding of Earth's systems, an awareness of cosmic influences, and that crucial hyperlocal community collaboration we saw with the app.
It makes a compelling case, presented in these sources, that seemingly small local initiatives, whether it's a community coordinating tool or figuring out how to use local sands effectively, aren't isolated. They can be foundational pieces of a much larger, interconnected plan for shaping a resilient and abundant future.
Yeah, this deep dive, drawing solely from the sources you provided, really paints a picture of a potential future where simultaneously understanding the deepest parts of our planet, managing complex cosmic influences, and empowering local communities through technology could fundamentally redefine what it means to be a civilization.
So here's maybe a final provocative thought for you listening. Considering this integrated vision that the sources lay out from the very local to the truly cosmic, what steps, big or small, might you imagine contributing to such a future built on integration, resilience, and maybe that idea of joyful abundance? Something to think about.
So you've brought us this really incredible stack of sources today. It's laying out a vision. I mean, it's a pretty bold one.
It really
We're
is.
talking about building, well, essentially a whole new civilization from the ground up,
Mm.
and doing it by blending some seriously cutting-edge tech with a deep respect for the natural world.
Mm.
Even connecting what happens, right here on Earth to forces way out in space.
It's genuinely comprehensive. These sources, they manage to pull together all these seemingly separate things, like everything from the sand under your feet to how solar winds affect us, into one kind of integrated picture for a potential future.
Exactly. And this stack, it covers so much ground. How they envision using resources sustainably.
Right.
Advanced AI, complex simulations, even ideas for next-gen computer chips.
Mm.
And yeah, this really fascinating angle on Earth, dynamics, and space weather.
So our mission, really, in this deep dive is to be your guides through all this material. We're going to try and pull out the most important insights, get a handle on the blueprint for this proposed eco-civilization, how they think they could build it, power it, govern it.
How it fits into the world around it.
Precisely, near and far.
Think of this as your shortcut then. A way to grasp this, well, really ambitious, multifaceted project that's laid out in these sources. It's quite a journey we're embarking on.
It is.
So let's dive in. Where do we start? The foundation.
Yeah, let's start with the core philosophy. The sources call it joyful, responsible abundance on Earth. JJO or Earth for short.
Yejer Earth.
Okay. It's framed as like a movement aiming for what they call a protopian future.
Protopian, meaning?
Not utopian, like perfect, but protopian, constantly improving step by step, moving away from systems based on, fear and scarcity towards balance and harmony.
Okay, I like that. And they've anchored this pretty high-level idea to a very specific place, right? North Stradbroke Island.
Minjerribah, yes.
Hmm.
The sources suggest this island could be the cradle for this new civilization, and its geology is key. Well, the sources point out it's basically formed from accumulated sand over millennia, and it's rich in mineral sands, things like quartz, ilmenite, rutile, zircon, monazite. Useful stuff.
And what's really striking, reading through this, is their commitment. They state they plan to use only the atomic elements found right there, on the island, in the surrounding water, and from plants they cultivate. For everything, construction, manufacturing, all of it.
A huge constraint.
It is. But it's totally central to their model, isn't it?
Absolutely. And they get specific about what they can get from these sands.
Yeah.
So silica from quartz, that's your glass, your fiber optics, your basic silicon chips.
Right, the foundation.
Titanium from ilmenite and rutile, great for strong, light structures, maybe wind turbines. Zirconia from zircon for advanced ceramics, possibly fuel cells.
And those rare earths.
From monazite, REEs. Crucial for high-strength magnets in electronics, motors, batteries. All that modern tech relies on.
They also mentioned recycling, too, don't they? Something about aluminum cans.
Yeah, specifically using recycled aluminum for building frames and solar panel frames. And they connect it back to the island's history. The end of sand mining there, like the Enterprise mine closing. It's sort of weaving that past into a sustainable future supply chain.
Okay, so that's the material base.
Yeah.
What about the economic structure, the governance? How does that work?
Well, the sources describe GAJRA Earth as a crypto DAO.
A decentralized autonomous organization.
Exactly. And the GAJRA token is central. They mention a planned ICO initial coin offering for Q3 2024.
Now, this is where I saw something really unique in the sources. The token supply. It's not tied to just like economic output or some arbitrary number. It's linked to the Earth's population size. Human and other sentient beings.
Yeah, that's quite a statement, isn't it? It embeds a whole value system right into the tokenomics. It implies, valuing all life, not just human economic activity.
That's profound. So what gives the token value, according to the sources?
Several things. Governance rights within the DAO, first off. Then rewards for participation, integration into their whole AI ecosystem. They call it the gamification of life.
We'll need to unpack that one later.
Definitely. And access to events. Plus, incentives are built in staking the token, rewards for taking part in governance, and even grants for actions that help the environment, have social impact, or drive innovation.
And the governance itself, how do they avoid, the usual crypto problem of whales dominating?
They specify using quadratic voting. The source literally says one person who owned JRI-era tokens equals one vote. Owning more JRR tokens does not mean more votes.
Ah, so it dampens the power of just holding lots of tokens. Interesting.
Exactly. It aims to privilege participation over pure wealth accumulation in decision-making. And there's also this idea of a sovereign wealth fund, managed transparently on the blockchain.
To share the value generated, like from clean energy.
That's the example given, yeah, transparent wealth sharing.
And there's a timeline mentioned too.
A few key dates, that Q3 2024 ICO we mentioned. Then a big global event planned for July 2025 called Earth Revival. It's described as a 3-day global convergence, kind of a catalyst.
Okay.
And then they mention pushing towards this gamification of life concept more fully in 2026.
And they don't forget the local aspect either, right? Integrating with the existing community.
No, they specifically mention respecting indigenous wisdom and involving the local community at a grassroots level. They even name-check specific groups like the Point Lookout Fishing Club and the Bulls Club. So trying to build it from the ground up culturally, too.
Right. So that paints the picture of the vision, the structure, the philosophy.
Yeah.
But how does a place like this actually power itself sustainably? Using just local stuff?
Good question. The sources lay out a pretty diverse renewable energy strategy, really tailored to the island. Solar is big, naturally. They plan to produce high-purity silicon right there from the local quartz sand.
Making their own solar cells.
And the glass panels for the modules, too, yeah. All from sand.
Wow. Okay. What else?
Wind turbines are in the mix, and they specifically mention building them using titanium alloys, again, sourced from those local minerals.
Keeping it local.
Always. Plus, biomass from plant waste and potentially geothermal energy sources as well.
Okay, a solid mix. Anything unusual?
Well, what I found particularly fascinating and really shows their integrated thinking is the focus on wave energy converters, WECs.
Ah, using the ocean waves. Makes sense for an island.
Exactly. They detail different types, oscillating water columns, point absorbers, attenuators. And crucially, the plan is to build these using local materials, too.
Let me guess. Titanium alloys.
Titanium alloys, biocomposites they'd make, and those rare earth magnets we talked about.
Okay, but you said integrated thinking.
Right. Here's the novel part, according to the sources, the dual purpose. These WECs aren't just for generating electricity. They're designed to function as biorock structures.
Biorock, like helping marine life.
Precisely. Actively enhancing the marine ecosystem, acting as artificial reefs, supporting seagrass restoration, benefiting the whole underwater environment.
So the energy infrastructure is also ecological restoration infrastructure.
That's the idea. It's pretty clever. And the sources estimate significant power from this, something like 180,000 kilowatts per day from just 500 meters of coastline, contributing to a total estimated renewable production goal of around 290,000 kilowatts per day.
That's a lot of energy. But renewables are variable, right? Sun doesn't always shine, waves aren't always crashing.
True. So energy storage is absolutely essential, and they list a whole bunch of concepts. Sand batteries.
Using hot sand, yeah, I've heard of those.
Molten salt systems, gravity batteries, compressed air energy storage, CEES, and of course, more conventional short-term batteries for grid stability.
A full toolkit for storage. And managing it all.
Yeah, the sources touch on smart energy management too, load management, peak shaving to smooth out demand, energy recovery systems. The whole grid needs to be intelligent.
Okay, so we've got the philosophy, the materials, the power strategy. How do they actually build things? The physical infrastructure.
This is where advanced manufacturing really comes into play, heavily leaning on those local materials again. Additive manufacturing, 3D printing is central.
Printing buildings.
Structural components, yeah. Using titanium powders derived from the minerals and also bio-based composites. And for things like tunnel linings, they mention using geopolymer concrete.
That's the lower carbon concrete alternative,
Yeah.
right? Made from local rock.
Exactly. Alumina silicates found locally, and tunneling itself is apparently a big part of the plan for underground transport, utilities, that kind of thing.
How do they plan to do that?
With tunnel boring machines, TBMs, but again, potentially built using local materials, titanium alloys, maybe super hard zirconia ceramics for cutting heads, even bio-based hydraulic fluids. And they stress doing it with eco-sensitive methods.
It's a consistent theme. What else are they planning to make there?
The sources give this long sequential list. It's quite ambitious. Beyond the energy stuff, we're talking fiber optic cables from the silica.
Makes sense.
Advanced electronics using the silicon, the REEs, the ceramics. Electric motors using those REE magnets. Diagnostic equipment for healthcare. Even artistic materials and musical instruments derived from plants and local metals.
Wow, it covers a lot.
Uh,
Anything else stand out?
Well, it gets even more ambitious. They talk about the potential down the line to manufacture components for spacecraft and life support systems, all originating from these island elements.
So bootstrapping from sand to space, essentially.
It seems to be the long-term vision, yeah. And they bring up that recycling point again, using recycled aluminum cans for structures and solar panel frames, explicitly linking it to the island's mining past as a deliberate sustainable choice.
It's like closing the loop.
Kind of. And one specific manufacturing example that caught my eye was the detail on making complex optical instruments. Telescopes, microscopes.
Closing local materials?
Using the local silica for high-quality optical glass. Zircon, the source of zirconia, for high-precision, stable mounts. Titanium for the structures. They even mention the processes involved: casting, careful annealing, polishing, acknowledging the huge challenge of getting the required purity and precision with localized, potentially small-batch techniques.
That really underlines a technical ambition. Okay, so we've got the physical side, covered resources, power, construction. Let's shift to the brains of the operation, the AI, the chips, the simulations.
Right. This is where the sources introduce the aura of intelligence, or AOI.
Or of intelligence, okay.
It's described in quite futuristic terms: XR, that's extended reality.
Mixing virtual and real.
Yeah. HUD, head-up displays, and AGI, artificial general intelligence, acting together as digital twins of your body, your mind, and the place itself.
Digital twins of everything.
Pretty much. It's positioned as a kind of societal backbone, something to enable immersive experiences, visualize data, maybe facilitate deeper connections between people and their environment. They mention it playing a role in that Live Aid 2025 event, too.
And how does this AOI connect back to the governance we talked about? The DAO.
It enables what they call gamified democracy. The idea is you use this platform, the AOI, for transparent decision-making, proposing ideas, debating them, and then voting using those GAJRA tokens with the quadratic voting system.
So your interface to governance is through this immersive digital layer.
That seems to be the concept, yeah. And the AI system powering this isn't just one big AI. It uses multi-agent systems.
Like lots of smaller AIs working together.
Exactly. They specifically mention a mixture of experts, or MOE architecture. And the sources give examples like life stage agents that simulate human development from baby to adult, maybe for training experts or understanding long-term impacts. Or AI agents in specific scenarios, like aged care, where you might have a caregiver agent, a therapist agent, a health analyst agent, all collaborating. Or even in film production, script writing agents, visual concept agent.
But how do you control all these agents, keep them on track?
Human oversight is stressed as being key. The sources mention a human-in-the-loop approach. For instance, a role called a function definer who helps generate and shape what the agents can do, and systems of checks and balances, supervision, feedback loops to ensure task quality, and presumably safety.
Makes sense. Now, what about the hardware underneath all this? They mentioned custom chips.
Yeah, this is maybe one of the most ambitious parts. The vision includes designing custom computer chips, starting with something they call a keystone of consciousness chip.
Consciousness chip. What does that mean?
Well, the description is intriguing. It's supposed to have a guaranteed free will core.
Free will?
In silicon. That's the term they use. The idea, as presented, is that this core could spark higher-order intelligence on smaller, simpler components around it.
Okay. And there was something about resilience.
Right. This is insightful. It's designed so that if harsh environmental conditions, maybe radiation, extreme temperatures disrupt the higher-level functions, this core is intended to basically reestablish lower-level essential functions until conditions improve. A kind of graceful degradation and recovery.
That implies thinking about really robust systems.
Definitely. And they connect this to technical concepts like radiation hardening, making chips resistant to damage from energetic particles, which is crucial in space, but also useful in some terrestrial environments. They mention potentially using materials like silicon carbide or gallium nitride, which are known for being tough.
Things beyond standard silicon.
Exactly. And maybe even looking into self-healing materials. The whole approach seems geared towards localized, small-batch fabrication techniques like direct write lithography or atomic layer deposition, rather than relying on massive centralized semiconductor foundries.
Again, that self-sufficiency theme. Okay, so building the society, powering it, giving it brains. But the sources also talk a lot about understanding the environment itself, right? From deep Earth to outer space.
Yes, that's a major thread. Integrating incredibly diverse, real-time data streams.
Huh?
On the space side, solar wind conditions, CME's coronal mass ejections from the sun,
The big solar
yeah,
storms.
and the IMF, the interplanetary magnetic field, and combining that with terrestrial data, seismological monitoring, atmospheric conditions, volcanic activity.
Okay, gathering all that data. To what end? What's the goal?
The goal described is to analyze potential correlations between these celestial forces, solar activity, lunar tides, gravitational pulls, and events happening here on Earth.
Like earthquakes.
Volcanoes.
Exactly. Seismic activity, volcanic triggers, even atmospheric vortices like cyclones and large-scale pressure systems. The sources specifically mention a hypothesis they want to explore, linking Earth-Moon gravitational and electromagnetic interactions to these big weather patterns.
That's a really big picture view, connecting planetary mechanics to weather systems. It is, and they want to visualize this complex interplay. The sources describe a concept for a VR space weather news hub.
So you could, like, see it in virtual reality.
That's the idea. Using dynamic visuals, they mention toroidal meshes, vector data mapping to illustrate forces like push, pull, pressure, density, field strengths, waves, vortices, making these abstract interactions tangible.
So you can maybe visualize how tidal bulges from the moon might be stressing fault lines.
Or how incoming solar radiation impacts different layers of the atmosphere, that kind of thing, making the invisible visible and hopefully understandable.
And this understanding goes deep too, right? Into the Earth itself.
Yeah, they talk about analyzing Earth's deep structure, using data from geological studies, core samples, analyzing deep mantle features like those large, low shear velocity provinces, the big blobs down there.
I've heard of those.
And they specifically highlight the mineral olivine. Apparently, it's crucial for understanding mantle radiology, how the deep rock flows, which in turn influences plate tectonics.
So understanding the planet from the core outwards, how does this connect back to the daily life in this proposed civilization?
Well, this deep environmental understanding is meant to feed directly into practical systems. Automated alert systems for seismic or volcanic risks using sensors like strain gauges, GPS monitoring, thermal infrared cameras, acoustic sensors.
Early warnings.
Exactly. And importantly, it also feeds into public education, using that VR environment again with interactive modules, simulations, safety tips, making everyone aware of the dynamic planet they live on.
Okay, bringing it all together then, what's the actual experience like, living there, getting around?
The sources touch on that user experience. That VRXR layer, the aura, isn't just for scientists looking at space weather. It's part of the daily interface.
Right.
Visualizing data, sure, but also interacting with virtual objects, tracking, and maybe replaying sequences of events or interactions could be for analysis, could be for telling personal stories, the sources suggest.
So it blends the analytical and the personal
Yeah.
and mobility. How do people get around this sustainable island?
They discuss developing custom prototype autonomous vehicles. Air, land, and sea, all designed to be sustainable and, environmentally sensitive.
Examples.
Autonomous electric buses are mentioned, with low-floor designs and amenities. Autonomous ferries, too. Makes sense for an island setting.
And there was a detail about drones, wasn't there? Something unusual.
Yes. This was fascinating, using drone swarms not just for, say, traffic monitoring, but specifically for situational awareness regarding wildlife.
To avoid bothering animals.
Exactly. Monitoring wildlife movements to ensure the autonomous vehicles don't interfere with them or cause harm. It's baking ecological consideration right into the transport system's operation.
That's taking environmentally friendly to another level. What about robots?
The long-term vision, according to the sources, does include the potential for advanced humanoid robots or androids, aiming eventually for robots capable of complex and, importantly, positive interaction.
And all of this tech, the AI, the robots, the AVs, it's all supposed to be guided by that core philosophy.
That's what the sources emphasize, yes. Consensual, joyful, responsible abundance. The idea is that technology should free people up for creativity, connection, community, not just efficiency for its own sake, walking that middle way, as one source puts it, between progress and tradition.
Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this. Taking a step back from all the details, diving into the stack of sources, it really gives you this incredible integrated perspective.
It really does. It lays out this vision, starting literally from the ground up using local sand and mineral,
Right, on North Stradbroke Island.
powering it with diverse renewables, including that innovative wave energy that also helps restore marine habitats.
It's constructing it using advanced manufacturing, 3D printing with those local resources.
Building the brains with resilient, custom-designed chips and sophisticated AI agent systems.
Governing it transparently using DAOs and quadratic voting, enabled by that immersive AOI.
And all while simultaneously monitoring and trying to deeply understand the planet from its core right out to the influence of space weather. It connects everything.
It really moves beyond just abstract ideas, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It offers, well, a potential blueprint. It's incredibly detailed in connecting the dots from, like you said, the tiny scale of silicon chips to the huge planetary forces shaping our world.
Absolutely. By exploring these sources, you really do gain this unique, holistic view of how such an ambitious future could be envisioned and, at least theoretically, technically approached. It's quite something to ponder.
So here's a thought to leave you with. If building a civilization based on this idea of joyful, responsible abundance really means weaving together everything, from the quantum scale of computer chip design to the vast cosmic forces of space weather, what does that truly tell us about our own place right now within this complex, interconnected reality?
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Today, we are diving into, well, quite a stack of sources you've shared. They weave together some really big ideas, AI, community resilience, and this bold vision for North Stradbroke Island, Minjerribah.
Yeah, it's quite a range. We've got docs on like the nitty-gritty of AI art prompting, right through to notes on a community app, and even these broader thoughts on, well, civilization itself.
Right. So our mission here is to pull out the key insights for you, the listener. I want to help you get the core ideas, maybe some surprising details, and figure out where this whole thing might be going.
And it's definitely not just tech talk. It's about people, place, history, future, facing big challenges.
Exactly. Rooted in local wisdom, but looking at global stuff.
Yeah.
So the sources give us a good starting point with AI, right? Not as some far-off thing, but as a tool you can use now.
Yeah, exactly. As a creative partner almost.
Okay, let's start there. Some docs go deep on AI prompting, basically, how you tell an AI to make an image or video, especially for storyboarding.
That's it. The art prompting for rapid storyboarding source is basically a how-to guide. It frames prompting as translating your creative idea into instructions the AI gets.
Okay.
And it highlights using AI for quick storyboards by, and this is cool, referencing existing movies or scenes to get a specific feel, evoking familiar cinematic cues, you know.
So you could literally say, make it feel like the lighting in, I don't know, rabbit-proof fence.
Spot on. The source uses that exact example, going for that soft, natural light, the framing, but then adapting it. Maybe for a coastal scene on Minjerribah with local storytellers, using that shared visual language.
Huh. Okay, so it's not just random keywords. How do you actually break down something like soft light or a mood for the prompt?
Well, the source lays out templates, specific building blocks you need. You'd specify the lighting like soft morning light or golden hour. Then the camera angle, maybe a wide-angle shot, low perspective.
Giving it director's notes, essentially.
Totally. You add the color palette, pastel and earthy, details traditional woven baskets, even the emotional tone may be evoking gentle curiosity.
And quality, like resolution.
Yeah, you layer that into 8K resolution, ultra-detailed, cinematic, ultra-realistic. The sources even give these prompt formulas for text-to-video and image-to-video.
Borealis.
Yeah, breaking it down. Duration, subject, setting, style, lighting, props, tone, color grading, quality. The main point is good prompting isn't magic, it's systematic, translating vision into structured data.
Right, systematic.
Yeah.
So that's the theory. How does this look in practice? There's mention of an AI film director assistant project for the Quandamuka Film Festival.
Yeah, this is presented as a really practical application for community storytelling. The idea is a workflow guided by a human using a mix of specialized AI models.
Specialized AI, like different AIs for different tasks.
Exactly, a mixture of experts or MOE, plus models that handle text, image, audio, maybe even rough video, multimodal stuff. But crucially, a human facilitator, maybe a local creative, is always in the driver's seat.
So the AI is the assistant director, not the director.
Precisely. The source maps out the phases. Starts with ideation. Maybe AI helps brainstorm ideas based on local culture fed in by people. The character plot development, integrating local stories.
Okay.
Then script help, visual concepts using text to image, maybe even casting ideas or checking feasibility.
But where does the human definitely step in? What's non-negotiable?
Oh, absolutely critical points. Local storytellers choose the core story. Community consultants check for cultural authenticity. Filmmakers review the visuals. Humans sign off on the final production pack, and critically, the final edit. There's even mention of a specific cultural sensitivity checker agent to help flag issues, ensuring stories are told right. The insight is AI assists human creativity and cultural knowledge. It doesn't replace it.
Making these powerful tools easy for everyone to use sounds tough, though. How do they tackle that?
That's where the GUI, the graphical user interface, comes in. Big focus there. The design principles are all about accessibility. Visual simplicity. Think big, colorful buttons, less jargon.
Yeah.
A step-by-step flow, like moving through chapters. Using local imagery to make it feel familiar. Audio support for instructions, too.
Like a voice guide.
Yeah, maybe even a friendly character like the kookaburra giving tips.
Yeah.
The screen flow examples, welcome, ideation, let's imagine.
Yeah.
Characters, meet your heroes. Plot, build your story. It's all designed to be super intuitive, even if you've never touched this tech before.
Right.
Plus, accessibility stuff like language options, text size, colorblind modes. The goal is clear. Make filmmaking tools truly community-wide. The interface is the bridge.
It sounds very user-focused. What about the actual tech backbone? Is there a plan to build this?
Yeah, the sources touch on that. High level but concrete. Some pseudocode, a plan using standard web tech React for the front-end interface, Node.js managing things behind the scenes, Python for the AI bits, PostgreSQL for the database, Docker to package it up. They even mention thinking about production stuff, config, logging, error handling, testing pipelines. So it's not just vaporware. There's a plan to build a robust system.
Okay, so we've gone from AI prompts to a film project using them to the tech plan. That feels grounded. But then the sources take this massive leap to an everything app for the whole island. How does the film thing connect to that?
Well, the film project is kind of the proof of concept, a tangible example of tech empowering the community locally. Builds trust, shows what's possible.
Okay, a starting point.
Then the Straddie Everything App notes zoom way out. It's this vision for a unified digital OS for the island. Part local hub, part operating ledger, part civic network, weaving daily life and long-term stewardship together.
Daily life, like transport.
Yeah.
Finding out what's on.
Exactly. Ferry and bus times, meal services, community events, coordinating aged care tasks with the local hostel, MUPI. But connecting all that directly to bigger picture planning, energy, land use, resilience.
The scope sounds huge. Who's involved?
It's incredibly comprehensive in the notes, linking all the community clubs, bowls, fishing, surf lifesaving, amity cricket, Dunnet sharks, golf, little ships, plus the vital volunteer groups, marine rescue, fire brigade, wildlife rescue.
Wow.
Bringing them into one ecosystem for rosters, bookings, promotion, sharing assets, comms, logistics, even incident response.
And beyond the clubs, businesses,
Yeah.
council.
Yep. Integrations listed with ceiling ferries, transit systems buses, other transports like Gold Cats, Minjerribah Camping, Redland City Council, QYAC, the Quandamuca Corporation, Elders in Council, ambulance police, health clinics, housing, rental agencies, Airbnb hosts, artists, schools. They call it a macro stakeholder map. The insight is building resilience means connecting everyone digitally, breaking down those silos.
Okay, but building a digital hub for an island, unique
Right.
challenges, right?
Yeah.
Connection issues, storms.
Absolutely. Resilience is baked into the proposed design. It's planned as a PWA progressive web app, works in a browser, works offline,
Offline.
island-hosted backup server, plus the main cloud one, an island edge cache for local data, and crucially, an SMS fallback. If the internet goes down completely, basic comms still work via text message.
Smart. Designing for the reality of the place.
Exactly. The tech has to match the environment and potential isolation.
And privacy. With all that info in one place.
Top priority in the notes.
Yeah.
They talk about OAIC APP compliant consent UIs, making sure people agree clearly. Role-based access control, you only see what you're allowed to see. And sensitive stuff, like aged care data, kept separate. Trust relies on that transparency and protection.
Okay, huge system, thoughtful design. But how do you get people to actually use it? That seems like the real hurdle.
Yeah, adoption is key. That's where the day one wins come in. Focusing on solving real, annoying, everyday problems right away.
Like what?
Simple stuff that makes a difference. A shared calendar so clubs don't clash over booking the Oval. An easy volunteer call-out button. A roster helper to kill those endless text chains. Even a simple BBQ stock counter for the clubs.
Huh. Yeah, those little things add up. Everyone gets annoyed by those.
Precisely. Another example.
Yeah.
Local loyalty points you earn for volunteering. Maybe get a free coffee or raffle ticket. Not flashy tech, just practical fixes for daily hassles. The insight. Solve actual pain points. Don't just build features.
And making it work for everyone, regardless of their tech skills or phone.
Yep. Accessibility is layered in, voice commands, simple tile interface for touch screens, and even that dumb phone mode using keypad and SMS for basic functions, trying to leave no one behind.
There's also this premonition FAQ idea mentioned. What is that exactly?
That's a really interesting way to figure out what people actually need. Instead of generic surveys, it's about asking targeted, scenario-based questions to different groups, residents, club leaders, tourists, businesses,
Okay.
to understand their specific world, their unique needs, how they would interact with a living system like this app.
Can you give an example? What kind of question?
The sources list themes: routing, sharing, rostering, venues, comms, decisions, safety, data, revenue, commonwealth.
Yeah.
Questions like, what's one thing only your group knows that others should? Or what daily hassle could tech fix for you? What forecast would help you prepare? Even what kind of decision would you trust the system to make?
Yeah.
The idea is to uncover those hidden needs and potential value points by asking really specific, contextual questions.
So getting buy-in isn't just selling the tech, it's deeply understanding the community first.
Absolutely. The lecture script sources really hammer this home. Start conversations locally, face-to-face. Ask people what they want. Get local leaders involved early. Keep it all optional, opt-in. No forcing it on anyone.
And the practical stuff, like demos with a BBQ or a beer, making it social, not scary.
Exactly. Those grassroots methods build trust. And this all ties back to designing for resilience, facing what the sources call Earth's untamed nature.
Right, you mentioned that. It sounds like more than just storm prep.
It is. It's acknowledging that things can get seriously disrupted. The sources mention historical collapses linked to natural disasters, maybe even big celestial cycles, acts of God, black swans.
So the app's resilient infrastructure, solar hubs, batteries, Faraday cages, offline info is a direct response.
Yeah. Ensuring that during a crisis, storm, fire, blackout, the community still has essential contacts, first aid guides, local protocols, even if the mainland connection is gone.
Having those fail-safes.
Exactly. And they connect this resilience idea to tackling misinformation too. Deepfakes, rumors, especially in emergencies. The app, as a trusted local source, can help verify info, flag dodgy stuff, reinforce community trust over random online noise.
Okay, this idea of untamed nature plus new tech.
Yeah.
This seems to be the gateway to the really huge vision in the sources. They zoom right out.
They really do.
Yeah.
The lecture script traces computing history, software, AI, and importantly, games.
Games.
Yeah, the insight is games aren't just fun. They're tools for learning, simulating things, collaborating, imagining new ways of doing things. That playful, inventive spirit is seen as key,
And that leads us to the internet, AI.
which is evolving incredibly fast. Diagnostics, forecasting, self-driving cars, art, and then the sources dip into the big philosophical questions.
Like the simulation idea.
Right. Are we in one? Maybe. Maybe not. But thinking about it makes us question reality. How we connect our responsibility to care for this world, simulated or not. Deeper critical thinking.
And this connects to progress in health and longevity.
Yes, another huge frontier mentioned. Anti-aging science, the microbiome, gene editing, growing organs, nerve repair. Radical life extension discussed as a real possibility, focusing on community benefit, not just individual gain. Tech enhancing life itself.
And combining AI and health tech leads to digital twins. Ancestor simulations.
Yeah, this is where it gets wild. Creating digital versions of people, preserving memories, wisdom, mannerisms of ancestors so future generations can interact with them. A way to maintain cultural connection, learn from history digitally.
So bringing it back to Earth's untamed nature, how do these huge tech and philosophical ideas actually help prepare for those challenges?
That's the core driver. Surface-level resilience isn't enough for potentially huge disruptions. So they introduce this really bold idea: subterranean eco-mega-cities.
Underground cities. Seriously.
More than just bunkers. Safe refuges, yes, but also advanced research hubs. Places to develop and test clean, circular economies that could then regenerate the surface, maybe even launch pads for space exploration eventually.
Wow.
And they suggest places like Straddie, Queensland's Sand Islands are actually ideal resources, location, community spirit.
Wow.
The insight is real long-term survival might need entirely new ways of living, informed by deep history and future tech.
That's
Crucially, no, is defined as commonwealth. Shared energy, stories, responsibility, joy. Measured holistically healthy environment, strong community, proud culture, plus economic benefit. The fund lets this value flow back, maybe free clean energy, better homes, health programs, even supporting other places.
So the app could actually show this commonwealth.
Exactly. A living map within the app, visualizing it all. Solar generation here, regenerative farming there, resource sharing tracked, environmental health indicators, making the shared value visible.
Which leads to that phrase, the re-civilization of sand.
Yeah, it's a powerful summary for the surface world vision. Relearning to live with the land and sea, especially sand islands. Using clean tech, advanced marine farming, maybe to boost productivity while caring for nature, the dolphins, turtles, whales. Giving back more than you take.
And they even talk about talking to dolphins. Interspecies collaboration.
It's floated as a potential long-term outcome. Advances in language models like Google Gemma might open doors to understanding complex, non-human communication. It's framed as part of this grand Commonwealth idea, multi-species decision-making for the planet, pushing the boundaries of eco-civilization.
So this eco-civilization has many layers.
Inner worlds, mind, culture, underworlds, subterranean resilience, surface worlds, regenerative community, maybe even other worlds, space. It's framed as evolution towards joyful, responsible abundance.
But built carefully, step by step, with the community.
Absolutely. Emphasis on with the community and environment. Old wisdom, new tech. Humility, courage, sharing.
And the sources touch briefly on the personal story behind this, Luke's story.
Yeah, moving 42 times. The idea is that experience gave him a deep understanding of broken systems and a drive to figure out how they could work for everyone.
Gives the systems thinking a relatable origin.
And his background, self-taught web design, game design, cybersecurity, gave him the tools. His guiding question, what would this look like if it worked for everyone, is the catalyst. It's born from lived experience and a desire to engineer something better, a kind of strategic hope.
Which brings us right back around to where we started, the Quandamooka Film Festival. How does that fit into this huge picture?
It's positioned as the concrete, grassroots start, a local project, empowering people to share their stories with easy-to-use tech, showing how Gen AI can democratize filmmaking, talk to your phone, tap some buttons, use free apps, making it accessible.
An invitation to create, basically.
Exactly. Shape something unique to Straddie, tell local stories with new tools, show what the community can do together, starting small.
And that small step, starting with stories, builds towards the bigger ideas of resilience, commonwealth, a different future.
It's the vital first move. Building skills, showing the power of shared tools, creating that foundation of trust and purpose the bigger vision needs.
Wow, what an incredible arc we've covered in this deep dive. From AI prompt mechanics to a resilient island app, all the way to, well, interspecies communication and subterranean cities.
It really shows how seemingly separate things, code, community, culture, environment, future tech, can all connect when you're focused on building a resilient, abundant future.
And the common thread, the main takeaway, it feels like, is that AI is powerful, yes, but its real potential comes when it's guided by human wisdom, community needs, cultural respect, and this long-term vision of resilience and sharing.
Tech serving a deeper purpose, human purpose, environmental purpose.
And while this vision is rooted in Minjerribah, the challenges, information chaos, resilience needs, community connection, and the opportunities accessible tech, new collaboration models, they're relevant everywhere, aren't they?
Absolutely. And the starting point, the sources suggest, is always small, local.
Which leaves a thought for you, our listener. What stories are waiting in your community? Could these new tools, combined with your local knowledge, help build a more resilient future where you are? One step, one story, one conversation at a time. It seems the blueprint might just start by asking, what would this look like if it worked for us?